everybody. My name is Dave Jackson, he, him, and welcome back to Tales from the Backlog, where each week I'm joined by guests to deep dive a game from our backlogs. Today's game is Lies of P. But first, a few things. If this is your first time here, thank you for stopping by the show. Here is how spoilers work. We are not going to spoil the story of Lies of P for quite some time. So if you have not played and you don't want to be spoiled on the story, you don't want to hear about specific boss fights, etc., you're safe for a while. Please check down in the show notes for a timestamp for when the spoilers begin. We will also warn you when that's coming. And if you like the show, please consider supporting however you can. You can do that on Patreon, patreon.com/realdavejackson. You can also tell a friend. You can share in Discord servers and the like. You can leave ratings and reviews on the podcast apps, like and comment on YouTube. So many ways to support the show, and I appreciate every one of them. But I am not here alone today to talk about Lies of P. I've got two guests. My guests today are Rob, he, him, and Kelvin, he, him. They are new friends of the show, first-time guests, but longtime friends of mine. They're the hosts of the gaming duo, and they're both master ventriloquists. Rob and Kelvin, welcome to Tales from the Backlog.
What's going on, everyone? Thank you for having us, man.
Of course.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it. Long time coming, and I'm super pumped that we're finally on this show. I've been meaning to get on the show for a very long time. So
yeah, we've been talking about it for a while. It wasn't for like lack of wanting to have you guys here. It's just it's taken a while. And I remember we talked about a game that would be perfect to have the both of you on, and it just took me over a year to actually go ahead and play that game. So we're here for Lies of P today. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm super stoked, man. This is going to be a great episode. This game is it holds a special place in my heart, so I can't wait to talk about it.
Hell yeah. Well, today's game is Lies of P. Like I said, it is a Souls-like action RPG developed by Neowiz and Round8 and published by Neowiz for PC, Xbox, and PS4 and PS5 in 2023. Lies of P was directed by Che Jiwon, and the head of studio and executive producer on the project is Jason Park. We'll have some more credits as we go through the rest of the story and the other parts of the episode here. But first, if you don't know what Lies of P is, we have our quick pitches for the top of the show per usual. I take the easy and loud pitch. It is the host's privilege. Lies of P is Pinocchio Souls, baby.
Nice.
What would you guys say?
I would say Lies of P.
Yeah, it's definitely its own game. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, definitely its own game for sure. I mean, I would kind of echo that. I would say this is kind of a dark and twisted Pinocchio, but more than that, for me, it's more of like probably one of the best Souls games you'll ever play. That's not from or made from FromSoftware.
Yeah, we do get into a bit of word mix-ups when we say something's not from
software.
Yeah.
Happens all the time.
Yeah. I played this on PC. It took me 28 hours to beat the main game, and then I did go ahead and play the Overture DLC also. That took 14 hours, so 42 hours total for Lies of P. So where did you guys play this? Do you know how long your playthrough took you?
Ooh, this is a tough
Good
one.
question. I didn't check how long I played Lies of P. I played it on my PC on the Game Pass. I played on Game Pass. So
yeah.
And that was probably the worst place to play it at this point. But we'll talk about that at some point. But
right.
Yeah, I had a phenomenal time playing it. I played it on my PC on the Game Pass, and it was a great time. I did not play the DLC. Just for forewarning for everybody, did not play the DLC.
Right.
But we'll talk about that in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Same. So I also played it on Game Pass as well. I don't recall how many hours I put into it. All I know is I played the main game. No, it doesn't tell me. I wish it did, but it didn't tell me. But I played the main game through and through, got most of the secrets and whatever. Did not play DLC, but I think it took me about 30 or so hours, maybe a little more than that, maybe even generous, but maybe like close to probably 35 hours it took me to beat this game.
Yeah, I would echo that too. I think I'm a very slow, methodic player, so I like to just kind of go through every single nook and cranny. So I would say I would probably hover over the 35, maybe even closer to 40 mark, just me knowing my play style.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's definitely like a pretty meaty game. definitely around the same size as some of the Dark Souls games if people played those. So yeah, it's not a short game, but it's not Elden Ring either. It's kind of in a good length for this kind of thing. So let's get into our histories with Lies of P. And I played this last out of the three of us, so I will throw to you guys. Obviously, this game has an interesting pitch. It is Souls, where you're playing through like an kind of an adaptation of the story of Pinocchio, which is just a wild fucking idea for a video game. So was that the thing that made you guys want to play this? Are you veterans of the Souls games too?
I wouldn't consider myself a veteran of Souls games. I have played a numerous amount of them. I have played, like, Bloodborne to me is probably my all-time favorite FromSoftware game. So seeing this game and kind of having the ties with Pinocchio and just kind of like the background behind that, I was like, oh, I'm all in. Like, this seems very interesting, very kind of like a push for a different narrative that I wanted to see in from like kind of like a open kind of Souls game like this. So I definitely saw this first time trailer and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna look into this more. And the more I saw about it, the more previews I read and kind of started seeing like this was actually a very good adaptation for like a Souls game. I'm like, I'm all in. Especially it kind of has that gritty nature of like what Bloodborne kind of gives out. So I was right up there. So I played it the day it released on Game Pass and I was hooked immediately. Like, this is one of those games, and Rob knows me well, where if a game hooks me, I'm hooked. And this is one of those games.
I would say my experience with it, I was a bit of a skeptic when it came to this game.
When are you like not a skeptic though? Let's be honest here.
And it's because it wasn't from software. So to me, I'm like, okay, when they're trying to imitate, something of this nature, I'm like, is it going to feel as good as that game? So I booted up. It was on Game Pass. So I'm like, why not? And Kelvin was really high on this game. He's like, this game's going to be great. It also did intrigue me that it gave me kind of like a Bloodborne feel, like the look of it did. And I was like, okay, that's hooking me. So then I booted it up and I'm like, this feels okay. Now we're hooked. So that was kind of my experience with the game, and it's right there. Probably one of the best Soulslikes you can play, honestly.
Yeah, Rob, I totally agree with what you said there. Like, this game, if you just look at a screenshot or a trailer, it looks so similar to Bloodborne that you can't help but to compare it. Like, if you're going that close to something as beloved as Bloodborne, you better not miss, because people are going to make those comparisons
exactly
inherently. Like, even without trying, you're going to play it and you're going to be like, this looks exactly like Central Yarnum. So I can't help but make comparisons. And so I played the demo for this before it released, and I didn't like the demo at all. And I think it was because it looked so much like Bloodborne. I was trying to play it like Bloodborne, and this doesn't play exactly like Bloodborne. It's its own thing. It just looks so similar that like it took a reset. And I think they went and they tweaked some like mechanical things between the demo and the release. Yes. But that was the main thing. And Bloodborne is like, probably it's on that level where like there's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 games that I love so much that I couldn't possibly pick one over the other. Love all my children equally, as we say. Right. Yeah. Bloodborne's one of those for sure. Yes. So like this thing is definitely like, I'm interested because of the Pinocchio thing, but also because it's so obviously inspired by it. But it did take a minute for me to like actually see what this game is and not what I thought it was going to be.
I was going to say, at one point, did it like hit you? I guess this question's for both of you guys. What point were you playing this game and you're like, oh, this is going to be a great game? Like, what was that trigger?
For me, it was like the time in between me playing the demo, and I went on our mutual friend, the Friday Night Gamecast. I talked a little bit of shit about that demo on their podcast. Shout out to Nick.
I didn't listen to that episode.
And it was between that point and then throughout, because like I'm 2 years late to this game basically, and through that time I heard people talk about it, and I watched the video essays and listened to podcasts and stuff, and they talked about like the play style and how it's not really playing like Bloodborne, it's more like Sekiro, and it got me into that mindset. So then when I booted that up with Sekiro in mind rather than Bloodborne, I was like instantly in it because I understood it now. So it really just took me like understanding what the game is asking of me.
I love that you say that because for me, a few things. For me, I loved, to answer Rob's question, I started really having this game click for me the minute I played the demo. So it was a little bit different than what you did, than your experience, Dave. But for me, playing the demo, I felt like, okay, they have something here, right? Like Round8 has something like very special here. I can tell because, again, obviously heavily inspired by Bloodborne and obviously Pinocchio and all that stuff. But the way it played, like you said, it didn't play like Bloodborne. And it's funny, I agree, it played more like Sekiro, which I could not get into. So it's so funny how those parallels like work for me and you, or like it worked for you because it played like Sekiro, but it worked for me because it looked like Bloodborne, but I don't know, it plays like Sekiro, which I didn't really like that much. So very interesting how that kind of dynamic played out for us, but I just enjoyed the theme behind it. And I could get past how different it played from Bloodborne and how more inspired it was from Sekiro, like as far as gameplay wise. I can get by that because of just the theme behind it and the lore. I think the lore was like really captivating. I'm like, I want to know, I want to be in this world. Really is what came down to.
Along those lines, then, let me ask you guys, since this is inspired by Pinocchio, obviously, what's your experience with Pinocchio? Have you watched the movies? Have you read the book? Where are you coming at from that angle? Because I think a lot of people are like, yeah, I watched Pinocchio when I was a kid, but like, you know, now there's like this gritty, like dark fantasy version of Pinocchio in a video game. And it's like, all right, let me remember the story of Pinocchio real quick. So where are you guys coming at from that angle?
So I think most people, they think of the Disney Pinocchio at first, right? Like that's number one. You know, I played Kingdom Hearts, you know, I get Pinocchio there. But then you also have to remember that's not like the main version of Pinocchio, right? Pinocchio in itself is kind of like a dark like story in a sense, like the Adventures of Pinocchio. Like if you look at the Shrek movies, the Pinocchio in there, he's kind of an ass, right? Like he's, you know, so it's really interesting that there's so many different versions of this Pinocchio story and how it's told. But I would say this is probably my favorite iteration by far of Pinocchio because of just how deep it went. It just kept getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And you actually linked a really great YouTube video about kind of, you know, the Adventures of Pinocchio and how it relates to this game and how it's based on. And that was really eye-opening for me to see. So, yeah, that's basically where I'm at with Pinocchio.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I mean, everything I know about Pinocchio is really Disney related. So this was a very interesting take on Pinocchio. I knew about the Adventures of Pinocchio. I knew that there were other iterations, obviously like Shrek. But this was the one that really spoke to me the most, right? Where, again, seeing this, playing this, and actually living in this world for 40 plus hours or whatever it was, I just felt like this is such a gritty, kind of really inspired with that dark theme that I really wanted to. I kind of wish and hope that other, you know, main titles kind of take that role as well. Like I would love to see other inspired games or inspired movies that kind of take that dark parallel. I think there was a game that came out recently that was inspired by Pac-Man. I forget the name of the game.
Yeah, Shadow Labyrinth.
Yeah, that one. And I mean, I don't know if it did well or not when it came out, but again, having that like different storytelling and having that dark kind of gritty aspect to it, I love that stuff.
Yeah, like you guys, like I watched the Disney Pinocchio when I was a kid. So obviously like that's the version of Pinocchio that's kind of like canon in my head just because I saw it when I was a kid. And very like totally unrelated to Lies of P, I watched the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio movie like, I don't know, 3 months ago, something like that. It came out like a couple years ago or something. I watched that. It was okay. And then after finishing this game, I actually went to the library and rented the book, the original book, The Adventures of Pinocchio. And I read that and I really liked it. And the cool thing about it is reading that helped me understand a lot of the ways that this story in Lies of P is different from the Disney version of Pinocchio. There's certain things about this game where you're like, why is this character such a dick? I don't remember that from the Disney movie. It's because that character is a dick in the book.
Yes.
And it may be in other adaptations. It's like one of the most adapted things of all time. It's in the public domain, so people just do kind of whatever they want with the character in the story now. So I was actually like so inspired. That's kind of like to get into our opening thoughts here and like kind of generally how we feel about Lies of P. I had such a great time with this. I went to the library and rented the Pinocchio book, which is not something I do for every game that's inspired by a book. I just had a good time with it. And the video that Rob mentioned is by Jacob Geller. He did a video about many different versions of Pinocchio and then Lies of P, and how like playing Lies of P and then reading the book kind of like opened up this little obsession about Pinocchio. Why is it so popular? Why is it so adapted? Like, why has it survived so long? It's a really old story. And that kind of happened with me too. And it all kind of started with just really enjoying this game's take on it. And then the gameplay, I had just such an amazing time playing the game too. So we have a lot of time to get into that, but anything to add on to that before we kind of dive in as we do?
Something silly, but you mentioning the domains that are open reminded me that there's domains open now for titles such as like Winnie the Pooh and the movie that came out for that and how atrocious that was.
Yeah.
So can we see a kind of Winnie the Pooh kind of adaptation to this Souls-like? Who knows? That'd be cool.
Souls like Winnie the Pooh. Yeah,
I'll take it.
I remember looking at the list and it's like Mickey Mouse, The Wizard of Oz. There's a bunch of like public domain stuff where it's like, I don't think I would want to watch just like another remake of The Wizard of Oz. I don't really give a shit about that. But like, I think that Souls games, like this genre in particular, with all of like the way that you create like fucked up monster designs, and you can tell the story in weird, darker ways, and you can tell the story in like a non-linear way and stuff like that, really works for some of these like really imaginative old stories that like, I'm not saying like I need a Wizard of Oz Souls games, but like if one got announced, I'd be like, that sounds interesting. I'm interested.
I agree.
That definitely does something for me for sure. I think the other thing too, for what I gathered from, the video you shared with me at some point was like there's a lot of Pinocchio stories out there. They're not named Pinocchio, right? There's the iRobot movie, right? Like that's
right. What was that called? AI was in the video.
Oh my goodness, that I forget about that movie in my brain, and then I remembered it, and I was like, oh, that movie gave me. It's like heebie-jeebies, you know what I mean? Just because it's like, but that is like a Pinocchio story. It literally is, which is crazy. So the fact that like this game makes you want to like go and like do research and like look up the like Adventures of Pinocchio, that's awesome, man. Like that's a testament.
Yeah, super cool. Well, we've got a lot to dive into, so let's take our first music break, and then when we come back, we're gonna set up the story of Lies of P. The story of Lies of P, like we mentioned, is loosely based on Carlo Collodi's The Adventures of Pinocchio. It seems like it borrows more from that than from more famous adaptations, more recent adaptations. But that's kind of the cool thing about adaptations, is they all take a little bit, they emphasize certain things, they change the tones. This one is like a dark fantasy version of that, and it takes place in this kind of industrial revolution looking city. And you play as a puppet named P, not named, they never say the word Pinocchio in the game, but you know who you are. We all know who we are. You wake up in the train station in the city of Krat, and the city's in chaos. The puppets have gone violent, and there is a sickness called the petrification disease that has also ravaged the population. So P needs to find his father, Geppetto, with help from a blue-haired woman named Sophia, as well as a couple of other NPCs that will come and help you out and sell you stuff and upgrade your gear. And you are kind of investigating what caused the puppet frenzy, as they call it. You're kind of investigating the petrification disease. But as you kind of do in the Souls games, you're not always given like, this is the big bad, and the game, the goal of the game is not like, I need to go here and I need to take down Sephiroth or whatever the big bad of the story is. The Souls games, you just kind of move through, you learn about what's going on around you as you go, and then eventually you come to find out who is ultimately the antagonist of this story and what do we need to do with them. Really interesting, I think, who the antagonist is and what they've done. We'll save that for spoilers. But guys, when you were playing this, the Souls-like genre for a lot of people is a gameplay first genre, but was the story something that hooked you and pulled you along as you're playing?
Yeah, again, like I said, I fell in love with just the lore behind everything so far. That's one thing that Souls games never did well for me, in my opinion, is just kind of grabbing your attention when it comes to the story, right? I think the main mechanics of the games for Souls is just like, the gameplay, right? And just how grand things can be and the enemy encounters and the boss fights that you encounter. But for me, it was never the story. And I know there's a deep, story in many of the Souls games, especially from FromSoftware. You just have to find them. You have to look for them, right? This one to me felt more kind of in your face, but like to your point, like you said, Dave, it's not really, you have to also kind of look for it as well. It's not just in your face. The story isn't telling you verbatim exactly what's happening and what they want you to do. You have to kind of look for it. But the way they've presented it in this game, for me, just felt very like, oh, I want to know more. Like, oh, I know. I guess it's because I kind of have an idea of the overlining story, right? Like I know some of the characters, so I know what their role is to some degree. So I just want to know more about it. So it just makes me want to understand the story that much more. But this is the first Souls game for me, in my opinion, that really gravitated my desire to get the story out of this game.
To basically echo everything Kelvin said in regards to this, made the story a little more accessible compared to other games in this genre, which is something that is sorely, I feel like we don't really get a lot of it. Just like, okay, well, there's story elements, but just like go out there and kill things and you'll figure it out, right? Where this was like, you're actually interested where the characters talk to you and they're not talking in riddles for the most part.
Yes.
Which was refreshing to go. It's just like, okay. And you could also tell that there was something ominous in the air, right? With this game, like you're like, this game is not going to have a happy ending, right? You just know going into this where there's certain things that you're just kind of like, I can't trust anyone right now that I'm talking to. I literally felt like I couldn't trust anyone, and that, we can explain this in a little bit, but the whole lie mechanic, right?
Yeah,
like that was a huge thing, and the entire time I'm like, every time I met a new person, I'm like, we good? We cool? Or we not cool?
No, we're probably not. No, we know what kind of game this is. We're probably not cool. It's interesting that's something that you both like really enjoyed about it. The fact that like you do like the Souls style, like I pick up an item, I read the description of the item, I learn a little bit about this level or about the main characters in this part of the story, but there is also a very direct story that's being told to you. And it's easy to follow. And so, and it also helps that like, we know this is based on Pinocchio. So we know the major players, and then we know like the thing about Pinocchio is the two most famous things is number one, lying. And then number two, the quest to become a real boy. Is that going to be a part of this game? And it's interesting the way that both of those things work. So we said like it's superficially based on Pinocchio. It's not a one-to-one retelling of the story. But I found a lot of good similarities after reading the book to the way things work in Lies of P. So you guys mentioned the lying thing, and that plays into the story, and it plays into what kind of ending you're going to get and things like that. But it's not like explained to you exactly what's going on. You're given choices a lot of times, to lie to this character or tell the truth, but it's on a timer and you're not sure like what is actually like, I know which one the lie is, but like, what am I supposed to do here? Because should I lie to them? Do I lie because that's what Pinocchio does? Like, do I tell them the truth? But the truth is going to piss them off because it's not a good thing I'm going to tell them. The way that they work that in, I think is really interesting. And I'll save a thing for the spoilers because if you've read the original book, you may know where I'm going with this, but it's different in Lies of P in a way that I think is cool with the way that lying plays into the story of Lies of P. So it's just, they had some creative ideas on what do we do with the story of Pinocchio within our game, rather than just a retelling of the different adventures of like, yes, we go to a carnival, but it's not the same as the carnival in the book. And we go to, we don't go, I think they call it Pleasure Island in the book. We don't go to Pleasure Island in Lies of P. We don't get swallowed by a whale in Lies of P. So it's different. They take liberties with it. I think what they did is really cool. Very cool.
100%. I love the way they navigated these things too. And I will say too, the way they've incorporated a lot of the, like you were mentioning, Dave, just the aspects from Pinocchio themselves, and not even adding on, like for me, I would have loved some kind of tie in with the whale somehow in some aspect, right? But that's not something that we typically would see in the game. So I don't want to keep moving forward, but yeah, we'll talk about that in spoilers, but
we will, yeah.
Very, very interesting stuff, the way they navigate this. Again, I would like to be a fly on the wall. I always say this. Would love to be a fly on the wall and how they've like really made this idea come to life, right? And just how they've added these ideas of like, hey, let's incorporate this lying mechanic and how is that going to impact the player throughout the game? Like that was super interesting, and I would love to know how they kind of like came about the idea.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that when you were given the choice to tell the truth or lie, you had a timer on you.
That bugged me out, dude. I did not.
But
like
that makes it where it comes to, you are making the decision. You don't get to just like pause the game and go look up and see what's going to get me thinking. It's like, you're going to lie or you're going to tell the truth. Which one are you doing it? And it puts pressure on you. And those are the feelings that make the game memorable, right? It's like those heart, like, oh, I got to make a decision right now. So kudos to that team for putting that little detail, putting a simple timer on your choices.
And if you think about it, that's kind of like real life, right? It's like if someone comes to you and asks you a question, you're kind of in this imaginary timer, and whether you're going to lie or not, it really depends on what you're going to say, right? And so you kind of have like this ticking timer above your head of like, am I going to say the truth? Should I tell a white lie? Like it kind of resembles that too for me, in my opinion, but it's super stressful.
Yeah. And the timer, like, I feel like I may have messed up a couple of decisions, or like I didn't have enough time to like fully think it through.
Right.
And so I might have made a couple mistakes along the way, which feels relevant for the character of Pinocchio, especially in the book. Pinocchio is a little shithead in the book, and he makes the wrong decision basically every time he's faced with a decision. Yeah. So like for you guys and anyone who has not read the book, so in Lies of P, you have a character that travels with you named Gemini, obviously based on Gemini the cricket from the book, from the movie specifically. Did you know in the book, Pinocchio kills Gemini with a hammer? Like, half a page after he's introduced.
Oh my god!
I was reading that. I was like, holy shit! Yeah, no wonder Disney changed that character. So, like Pinocchio needed like some kind of like a conscious, or like a moral, a conscious character, I guess. And in the book, he doesn't have that. That's why he fucks up all the time. But yeah, he kills the cricket with a hammer like immediately. So yeah, it echoes that in Lies of P, where if you make decisions because you don't have the time to fully think things through, it makes your playthrough kind of feel yours in a way, where like, yeah, it's a mistake I made, but we'll own up to it. And it's not the end of the world if you fuck up a decision. This isn't like, playing a Persona game with a guide for what things to say in a conversation to get the most, friendship points or whatever. Like, just roll with it. See what happens with your story. I think it's cool. The other side of the story it feels very Bloodborne inspired. So we have like the Pinocchio type story, and then we have like the actual story of what's going on in Krat, which feels very much like Bloodborne to me. I don't want to say too much right now, but if you know the story of Bloodborne, you'll play Lies of P and be like, that's the Healing Church. I know what's going on with them. So yeah, you'll follow those beats. So like it's one of the things, like, I agree with you that I like that Lies of P tells a very direct story, but it also has this other thing in the background that hits the notes of those the way FromSoftware tells stories, where if you put in the time, listen to what the NPCs have to say, exhaust all their dialogue, read the journal entries that you pick up, read the item descriptions and stuff. Like, I think that Bloodborne has a really fucking good story, but you can play it and not take in any of it.
No.
Right.
Yep.
Lies of P kind of hides some of the story behind that stuff too. So in order to get all of it, you will follow along and you'll get to the end and be like, I know what's going on here. I know who this is and why I'm fighting them. But also there's a whole lot of background stuff that's like, you have to do that extra digging that FromSoftware is so famous for.
If Bloodborne has taught me anything, it's that when I first played Bloodborne, I had no idea really how to play a FromSoftware game. That was like really my true first game to like introducing myself to Souls games. And I just kind of went past dialogue, not to some extent. Like, I did read stuff, but I wasn't like putting two and two together, right? And then fast forwarding now into like playing Lies of P back in 2023, I understood how this concept worked. I understood how, Souls games worked. So I definitely paid way more attention to detail. And like you said, just kind of like, if you exhaust everyone's, conversations and you pick up items and you're reading them, like, you really get a better understanding of the world around you. And it just gives the player that back. Like, you're putting in that time, you're going to get that time back because you're putting in that time.
Yeah. Lies of P gives you like the backbone of the story that like everyone's going to play the game and get that. But all the meat, all the muscle, you got to fill that in yourself by taking that time. And I think that that's a good way to go about it.
I think the game has a really fine line of almost being too close to Bloodborne in a sense. Like, at least with the story elements of how things are played, play out. It almost like tiptoes around it. I don't know if you guys agree, but I think they nailed it where like it's like right there to where you can't say that it is a Bloodborne like clone or anything like that. It's unique enough to where it's like it's similar, but it's not the same. So I think they did a good job where I think if they would have like went a little, it gets a little close to it. I would say.
It's analogous. So like, if you're very familiar with the story of Bloodborne, you're going to play Lies of P and be like I said, like, this feels like the Healing Church to me. This feels like the story of the blood. But it's not like it's not like they made a spreadsheet and they were like, here's our version. We're just going to change the proper nouns. And here we have our story. It's not like that. Like, it's definitely its own thing, but it feels very inspired, which is what you want. If you're taking inspiration, you want it to like, show the love to the thing that you love. I love that thing too. I love to see it. But you got to be your own thing. And I feel like Lies of P did it. You with me, Kelvin?
100%. I echo everything you said.
Close your eyes, come to me, feel alright, just dance with me all through the night, turn it out, close to you, I feel good, 'cause I just know feeling of you, give it to me, baby.
I think it was Rob just now. You mentioned like this being very similar to Bloodborne, and that takes us to talking about how the game looks. And that was the thing that I keyed in on, because the early levels, you're on the streets of Krat, and it's very reminiscent of the first level of Bloodborne, Central Yharnam. You're going through the city, there's dead bodies, there's overturned carriages, there's dead horses everywhere. The only thing it's missing is you don't have the chained up coffins everywhere like Bloodborne had, but it does look very similar. So real quick, a couple of credits for visuals. The art director is No Chang-kyu, and the head of art is Cha Byung-jun. And I want to just give them their flowers, and everyone, of course, the team, not just two people. I think this game looks incredible. And I don't just mean like, yes, it's a photorealistic type of graphic style that looks nice, but like art direction and environmental design. And like you said, the first level of the DLC is a zoo, and you go through this fucked up zoo. And like, if you play Souls games, think about in your head, think a fucked up zoo in a Souls game. That's going to be very cool. And it is really cool.
It's really cool.
Just like the environmental design, the art direction behind it all. It's really cool. I have so many screenshots from this game.
Yes, 100%. I think you said a key word for me that really like brought my attention when I played this game was the environments, right?
Yeah.
The environments and the way they just capture just exactly how you want this game to look and feel. The feeling of this game is based off of the environments, is what I'll say. It's beautiful. Like everything about it. It has like this dark kind of, almost in some aspects, in some places, like this gothic look to it, like in some images, like in the beginning. Like you really see they put in a lot of effort and work into the background and to the to the story as well. But for me, like I love just how visually the way they've incorporated like some of the enemies and some enemy variations, like this grotesque looking animal, and just like it just looks really, again, heavily inspired by Bloodborne and all these other games that like went before it, but it has its own twist to it, and I love how they managed to like kind of put that together in this game.
Yeah.
This game, the way the atmosphere, I would say, is bleak, right? Like it's just everywhere you go.
Everything sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're so excited to get into the new area, and it all has that same type of filter. You know what filter I'm talking about, right? It's just that filter that's very like dark and moody and gothic, and but whenever you went into a new area, it just felt new and exciting, and that's really hard to do. And then also for the enemies, when you went into a new area, you had these new enemies, and that's my number one, I would say, probably top for knowing if a game is going to be exceptional. Is there a lot of enemy variation? And oh boy,
in an action game like this,
there is so much enemy variation, because in the beginning you're like, oh, it's just going to be puppets. Right.
There's so many types of puppets though.
Yeah.
And then like, without spoilers, there's another type of enemy that gets introduced like a third of the way through the game. And then the two types of enemies combine at a certain point. And so it's like, it's constantly changing. There's like general types of enemies that like repeat like different roles in encounter design, if that makes sense. But like they don't all look the same, and they're not the same thing. And in a game that's this long and this focused on combat, you have to have variety. But like back to the way things look, all of the enemies, every one you come across, you're just like, look at that thing. Like they had fun designing that puppet.
Yeah.
They animated them so well. Like
animations are great too, for sure.
Can I point out one thing that I absolutely loved about the way this game looked, and just on the visuals, and it's on P himself. Right?
Yeah.
P himself looks like a boy. It looks like a character. But there's one thing they did that makes you know that he's always a puppet. And it's when you're standing still, he's doing like that weird like tick thing.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an incredible detail to put it, because then I feel like if they didn't put that little detail in there, you'd be like, oh, this is just a dude, this is just a character. But the fact that you're always reminded that he's also a puppet.
Yeah. Because he moves like more fluidly than like the puppet enemies do. Like he doesn't have like the robotic like herky-jerky animations. He's really smooth. But yeah, that's a good touch, like you said, to kind of remind you. And you know, you have the arm and stuff like that. Like I love they do the obvious thing from the Souls games, and when you open a door, it takes like 10 seconds to push a door open. But his robot arm will start like spinning and sparking and stuff from the effort, and it's very cool.
Yeah, love that. And especially the character design itself, like just the different costumes and stuff that you can kind of wear.
Yeah,
Just really
customization.
add, it really adds to him. Again, the arm, customizing that in that sense of like changing the arm, like those are the little things, little details that it just adds to the experience.
Yeah. On that note, like the NPCs that you meet, a lot of them are analogous to like the animals that Pinocchio meets in the story. So like, you know, the fox, the cat, dogs and stuff like that. And so in this game, you meet people with those masks on, like the big overhead, like you see a guy with just a very realistic, like overhead German Shepherd mask on. And like the first time I saw him is like, is that actually a dog walking on two legs? Like the way that they made those masks.
Yep.
So they're very cool. And those characters play similar roles to like the way those things worked in the story. So again, like they're taking the inspiration, but we're like, okay, we're going to take like, I think in the story, it's like a cat and a fox that trick Pinocchio and steal his money. And there's like some characters in the game that are like that. But they're humans, but they have these masks on, but they play a similar role. So they found a cool way to combine all the stuff. It's just super cool game. And then one thing that like was surprising to me was the music. There's actually, I looked in the credits, there's so many people and like entire studios listed for music that I can't credit them. There's a lot, but per usual in the genre, when you're just walking around, there's not music most of the time. It's just footsteps, enemy sounds, environmental sounds. All of that stuff is good. And then the bosses, they have music. That music is pretty good too. It's big, you know, high pressure, dramatic boss music. The thing that surprised me was the records that you pick up. They're like these collectibles you pick up throughout the game. You take them back to the hotel, you put them in the record player, and you can sit and listen to them. And that music is like really good. Like I really genuinely enjoyed, because there's a reason why you want to sit and listen to the entire song all the way through. And it's good. I wanted to sit and like, think about what you're asking of a game player here, to not go upgrade your character, like not spend too much. Well, you can do what you want in the hotel, but like don't rush to come back, maybe upgrade your weapon and then rush out to go to the next level, maybe fight that boss again that's giving you problems. We want you to sit in the hotel and listen to a 3 to 5 minute song all the way through to get the thing that you're doing it for. It's a kind of a big ask, I think. But I soon realized like that music is actually legitimately very good, and I want to hear those songs.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. I think it's a huge ask, but the way they incorporated it into like the gameplay style, I think it works perfectly. Like the fact that you're able to play any music you want once you obtain them, and you're able to customize, P, and you're able to just kind of walk around the hotel and do things that you need to do, like that makes it that adds to the experience. And there were times where, like you said, like I kind of just want to relax and stay in the hotel, just upgrade my stuff, my character, and just like kind of chill for a little bit, because I just had like this intense like run right now, and I just want to kind of relax, listen to some music, upgrade my character, and just enjoy the music for what it is. So
yeah,
I'm glad they actually added that, because otherwise there isn't any other way to experience the music unless you're fighting a boss, like you said.
Right.
So
that's normally how it works in these games. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a testament to how good this game is, because I almost forgot that there was incredible music in this game. Like the fact that there's one song that I'm thinking of, and you guys know which song exactly that I'm talking about. And that song is on my playlist. Like I listen to it like without playing the game. And the fact that like if you can get me to listen to that song in the game and play it outside of the game, I think you hit gold, right? Like, 100%. And the name of the song is called Feel, and that's exactly what it does. Is that it makes you feel when you're listening to it. So, I mean, hats off to them for being able to do that, along with this Pinocchio Bloodborne style game, right? Like it's wild. So I really, really think that the CDs that you get, or sorry, the records that you get, are just the the best. You should just try so hard to get those because you're going to be rewarded.
You get a reward, and like you know after you listen to one, okay, something happened. I should listen to everyone that you find. But like you said, like when I picked one up, I was genuinely excited. Next time I'm at the hotel, I'm like gonna sit and like close listen to it. Like I'm not gonna have it playing as I go upgrade my P organ or whatever. The first time I say that, and the not the first time I'm gonna laugh saying that, but I'm not gonna like multitask. I'm actually going to sit and listen to this piece of music, which again, like video games don't ask that of us very often. It's always music happening while you're doing something else, and you can multitask, but I didn't want to because after a couple of those records, I was like, these are fucking great.
Yep.
And there's a bunch of different styles to them. It really feels like, you know, multiple composers just like, hey, make a song that sounds like awesome. And they're all like they fit in like the kind of period that the story feels like it takes place in, kind of like this older style with the instruments they use and things like that. So it's just very, it feels like a big swing where they're like, we're going to make these records and you have to listen to the entire song, even if it's 6.5 minutes long. If you want your gamer treat, you got to listen to the whole thing. And they got me. They won.
I mean, speaking of gamer treat too, I mean, not only the tracks are awesome, but just when you're going through the game and you're fighting, you know, you get to a boss and you're hearing, you're seeing the boss and then hearing the music play in the background. It just adds to the immersion, man. Like I can't tell you how many times where I probably died the minute I saw this boss because I'm just like, oh man, like the way they introduced the music and I'm getting my ass just wrecked.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, man, but this is just perfect. Like the way they incorporated this and then this like intense music and like the vocals start throwing in, like it just adds to the experience. And then you're like, second round, you're like, all right, let me actually play this and try to beat this boss. But you're hearing the music, you're fighting the enemy, and all that together just adds to the experience. It's just like you know, you're playing like Elden Ring, for example, and and that music just hits as soon as you see the boss, and you're just like, man, this is gonna be epic. Same thing with Lies of P.
I think it was a good touch adding them as records, and when you're changing the record, you can hear the record scratch and all that stuff, right? And because playing a record in real life is a very like intimate thing, right?
Yeah.
It's almost, people describe records as warm, like the way they sound is like a warm feeling, and you definitely get that when you listen to these records in the game. So I thought that was really cool.
Yep. So like the boss tracks, they do their job too. They're interesting songs. They're not just like there to get your blood pressure up. They're interesting, but they're good. They just don't stick as much for me personally because I'm very focused on gameplay when I'm playing them. So that's one to revisit on YouTube to listen to the boss tracks. But I just wanted to highlight those records back at the hotel because they are cool and they're very different. It's a new idea. It's very cool. And we'll talk more about those records in the spoiler section, but we're touching up on gameplay. So let's listen to a bit of music here. We will come back after the break and talk about what it's like to play Lies of P. So, Lies of P, it is a third-person Souls-like action game. I wrote down, to me, this feels like they plucked elements from Sekiro, some from Dark Souls 3, and then some from Bloodborne, especially. We'll talk about those individual things, but the main thing when people talk about Souls-likes is difficulty. So, how do you guys feel about, number one, I think we can all agree, yes, the game is hard, but how do you think the approach to difficulty in Lies of P is? Like, do you think that it's too hard? Do you think that they gave you enough stuff to overcome the difficulty? How are we feeling?
I actually had a pretty tough time with this game.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a hard game.
It's a hard game. There were times where I had to like rebuild some builds. I had to spec certain weapons so I could take down certain bosses because it was just insanely hard, or I didn't pick the right arm. That was really kind of the frustrating thing for me. They give you items where you're able to level out the playing field and stuff like that. And I'll be honest with you guys, I never, let's just say I didn't beat the game in its full capacity, and we'll get to that in the spoilers. But yeah, I think the game, if anything, I might even put it might be harder than a Souls game at some points.
It's tough. Now, I will say, probably since you guys played this, they added difficulty modes into the game. I think it was a recent addition. I don't think there was right away.
Okay.
You guys can confirm, like, do you remember?
No, I remember
No, there was
one.
Right.
I'm pretty sure there was just one.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's at least 3 now. So,
Oh, wow.
I think that the standard difficulty is the hardest one. I think there are 2 easier modes now. But I will agree with you, Rob. It's a very hard game. There were times when I was playing, there's one time I had to completely respec my character and just min-max the fuck out of like getting as much DPS as I could. And then specking for a couple of other things too. But it is really tough. And like the final boss of the DLC is a fucking nightmare. It's like one of the hardest bosses I've ever seen in any game. But there's a thing I'll talk about later that made it doable. So but Kelvin, are you with us? Tough game.
Tough game, 100%.
Yeah.
Beginning of the game, I don't think I was playing the game right. And I again, like I said, I wasn't really familiar with, okay, I need to read every item that I get and make sure that I understand what this item does and all this stuff. I was kind of like enjoying it for what it was, for just the environments, again, the gameplay, yada, yada. Now, it wasn't until like mid-game, I think, and I think I was in a chat with Rob and I think Samurai Kibiji, and I was like getting wrecked on this boss fight, and it just clicked for me, like how to like respect and like what the purpose of respecting was. Like I knew what it meant, right, obviously, but I didn't really fully understand what it meant for this particular game and how to like really move things around so that you're, using your weapons to the fullest capacity, right? Mm-hmm. So when I finally figured that out mid-game, I was like, oh, okay, this makes so much more sense. And so that helped me tremendously once I figured that out. But throughout the first half of the game, I was struggling. And not to say, the second half of the game, I wasn't struggling. I was still struggling, but just not as much. Right. And I would say there is a peak in the game where it just got really hard.
Yeah. And then it goes down.
It just made it very difficult. And it was just like downhill from there. It was just very difficult from there on out.
Yeah, I think that difficulty curve comes from the fact that like these games are a big adjustment at the beginning. The Parade Master boss is like the first boss that you fight, and that one, and then the second one, which I think is the Watchman boss. Yeah, those are real checks of like, do you understand how this combat system works and how you need to approach combat? And then once you get that, I kind of agree with you. It wasn't smooth sailing from there, but it was like, I get it. If a boss is fucking me up, I know what I need to do to succeed. They give you so many tools to use. We'll talk about those. But like, so you mentioned respecking, like maybe I'm not like fully respecking my character, but I'm respecking my loadout for this boss. This boss is not weak to fire, but it's weak to acid. So let me spec up with some acid stuff. Let me maybe change my Legion arm to something more helpful for this specific fight. And that usually did the trick. And then you get to the end when it's like, all right, fuckers, like it's time to buckle down. We're giving you the challenge now for the final, I would say like the last 3 bosses, and there's an optional one at the end that's very difficult. And then the DLC, it's really just the last, if you can beat the final boss of the main story, you can do everything in the DLC up until the last boss, which is just good fucking luck. Do what you got to do. Because it's insane.
Yeah, he looked.
I mean, I beat it.
You're saying he's harder than the final boss in the OG game.
Oh,
like by much
far,
more.
By far.
Wow,
it's not even close.
I'm cooked. Then I'm so cooked. I would. That's crazy.
I did it. Like I beat it. And we'll talk about how in the spoiler section. But like, just it is tough. But that's how you get that curve, I think, is because like you don't get to the middle of the game if you don't understand how the combat works.
Sure.
Like you can't like fudge your way to the middle of the game and not understand it.
Yeah.
So that kind of helps with that. I think, Kelvin, you mentioned like questioning whether you're playing the game right or wrong or like incorrectly or something.
Yeah.
So one of the main things that you got to figure out in Lies of P is defense. So you have two main things that you can do. You can dodge attacks just like every Souls game, or you can block, and it has the Sekiro deflect system, where if you press the block button at the perfect time, I think it's when the attack is like just about to hit you, something like that, you will parry it away. You will not take any damage from it, and you'll do posture damage to the enemy. Unlike Sekiro, they don't show you the posture bar, which I think like I would have liked to see it. Just helps you like, I'm so close, but it also psyched me out in Sekiro enough times too that like it worked fine. But I thought this was mandatory. So like for me to succeed in Lies of P, I played this very parry based, and I only dodged out of the way of unblockable attacks, or like if I didn't know an attack, I would dodge first. You don't have to though. Like I have seen people beat the game only dodging. So like it is possible. I think it will take longer to beat bosses without parrying. And I do think that would be harder because I think a lot of bosses have like big multi-hit combos that like I found it easier to just, learn like the rhythm of parry all 5 of these attacks rather than try to dodge the correct way. So that was the thing when like I said, in between playing the demo and then when I actually picked the game up, that was the thing where I was like, okay, approach this like Sekiro, learn to parry attacks. And that was the thing that really helped me out. So did you guys like focus more on the parry and deflecting, or were you dodging a combination of those?
I focused on the parrying because to me, I thought that was the best advantage I can get, especially trying to regain health, right? When you are damaged, they have this system in the game where if you get hurt and then you attack the enemy seconds after you get hurt, you regain some of that damage that you took.
Straight out of Bloodborne.
Exactly, 100%. So for me, I'm like, well, the best option for me is to understand the game mechanic, understand the enemy and how they move and how they attack, so that way I can parry and then hopefully get some of my HP back. And so that's kind of like the strategy that I had throughout the game, and it worked for the most part. I mean, it took me probably much longer than most people because I was dying very often, but I was also learning from each mistake and each death and understanding, okay, this enemy does this at this certain time, so I need to like block precisely at this time. It's like it's kind of like a catch-22. It's a very tit for tat kind of game, which I love. So that's kind of like my focus when I was playing the game.
Yeah, with this game, it was kind of a mix for me. I think more in the beginning, I was more on the dodging side. Especially I relied on a lot of like some of the weapons AoE skills to take out mobs and stuff like that and kind of play it safe. But then towards the end of the game, I started getting more into the guarding and countering. So there's actually one specific weapon where like I picked up and I was like, oh, this is what I'm using this for. Okay, this is the move, which I think ended up being my favorite weapon in the game. But that's another thing. I don't know if we can talk about that, but the weapons. Whew.
There's so many weapons, and they do a cool thing in this game where you can take the weapons apart into their blade and their handle. And I think the way it works is the handle covers the stats of the weapon, and then the blade covers the move set. So if you pick up a cool sword and you're like, and you play around with it and you're like, I love the move set, I love the animations, it really like the timing of it all, it works for me, but it doesn't fit my build. You can take it apart and you can put it on a handle that does fit your build. And now suddenly you can use that sword. And that is like
chef's kiss.
It solves the problem from the Dark Souls games where you're like, oh, I found this kick-ass sword. It doesn't fit my build though, so I'll never use it. Cool. I'll read the item description and that's all I'll get out of this thing. In Lies of P, there's like unique weapons you can't take apart, but other than that, you can really play around with it and customize your weapons to just get like the perfect thing for you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't some of the best weapons, like some of the best builds, revolve around the handle weapons versus the unique weapons, I think?
Probably if you like min-max it, you'd probably like if you go on Reddit and you're like, what is the highest DPS I can possibly make? It's probably something like that.
Right.
But I actually didn't take weapons apart very often. I just like know that you can, because my favorite weapon in the base game was a unique weapon that I like got from a boss, so I couldn't take it apart. And then actually it was the same in the DLC too. I used the Wolverine claws in the DLC, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that seemed like a lot of fun.
That was a very fun weapon, I will say that. But surprised that you kind of used that throughout the DLC as well. Did you get any other weapons that really like maybe made you want to switch? Or
the Wolverine claws I picked up in the DLC. I don't know if there was another one like in the base game. Maybe
I'm pretty sure there was another one that you had like some claws, if I'm remember correctly, unless I'm thinking about a different game. But
they're in all the Dark Souls games.
Yeah.
Wolverine
It's
claws.
probably what you're thinking of.
Okay, I'm probably thinking about that then. Never mind.
But yeah, I found a sword. So I used like one of the like basic swords for a while, which is one of my favorite things about these games is like, if you like a weapon, it is good enough. You can use it.
Yep. Carry the entire game. And that's what
You
Bloodborne
can.
does too. You can literally pick up the beginning weapons and then you can just go through the entire, it's actually one of the starting weapons is one of the best weapons in the entire game. So
Yeah. And I love that. You know, because like part of your comfort with the combat in these games is like finding a weapon moveset in a set of animations that you are comfortable with in a boss fight. And you're like, I know this weapon so well that like with the break I have between attacks, can I get 2 or maybe 3 attacks in? If you know your weapon well, you can solve that and not get hit. And so the fact that like your comfort with a weapon is actually like the most important thing. Stats are important, but they're not the only thing. And
Right.
I just love that about these. And Lies of P, this is one of many ways in gameplay that the developers of Lies of P feel like they really understand the FromSoftware games and what makes them good. What kind of weapons did you guys roll with?
let's see. What did I start? Anything that was a sword, I usually gravitated towards. I usually don't really stick to anything that's clubby. Like I know for at one point I had to use one of the acid weapons, the crystal spear blade. I had to use that. And I think we'll talk about why I had to use that. But that one I used a lot. The bone cutting saw blade, that one was really, really fun to use. I enjoyed that because it had a lot of range and a lot of power behind it. And then I majority use a lot of the unique weapons though. I really liked those because they were really, really sick to use.
They look great too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This was more like, felt like these are essentially the boss weapons that you get from knocking out a boss, which is really cool.
Yeah, I stuck with mostly unique weapons. I'm mostly like just kind of like a long range person, so I do like the the lengthy swords, and you're kind of like giving myself some space, enough space so that I can kind of like dodge or parry whatever I need to do. So I really focus on those kind of weapons. I'm not really a fan of like getting up close and personal, so I kind of stayed away from like like
daggers,
like the daggers and things like that. So my main weapons were kind of like more like let's stay away from the enemy as much as I can and try to get some distance behind them.
What about you? What about you?
Yeah, I played with like one of the starter swords for a while, and then I picked up a big curved sword that I used for a while
That's a good
too.
one. Yep.
And then I ended up respecking. I was doing a quality build, which is like half strength, half dex. I ended up respecking into fully dex at some point because I picked up this like katana looking sword, I think it was, that was like a full dex sword. And,
the two dragon sword?
Yeah, it's a late game
Yep,
item.
that's the one I was using at the end. I was just like, this thing's too cool, and then you have to basically guard with it to get its like full move set.
Yeah, it's badass. So I used that, and then in the DLC, I switched to the Wolverine claws as soon as I picked them up, and that was awesome. So, that's definitely what I used. Let's get into like all these other like combat mechanics, because this game has like a lot of shit to keep track of. The biggest thing I think, aside from your main weapon, is your Legion arm, which like P has this robot arm, and you can choose what you want this to do. This reminded me of the gadgets in Sekiro with Sekiro's robot arm. So the difference here is it's not consumable items that fuels this thing, which is a great decision. That was the worst part about that thing in Sekiro, and just fixed in this game. It's a bar that goes down as you use it, and then when you rest, it refills. So boom, it's Estus. It's a perfect system. But there's a bunch of different ones that you can use. There's like some of the beginner ones are like, there's one that's just like you just punch the enemy really fucking hard. There's a flamethrower one. There's one that shoots an electric pulse. There's a bunch. There's one that's a shield. It's the only like straight up shield in the game. What did you guys do with the Legion arm?
Which one? I picked the one that was like a cannon. It shot like a cannon shot.
Yeah.
And that one, it did massive damage to specifically boss fights. So I was able to chunk a good percentage of their HP using that if I was able to connect the hit.
Mm-hmm.
So I used that one once I had that one. But I was watching a YouTuber play this game specifically for the DLC, and he kept the puppet string, it's the first one.
Oh, the one that like yanks you to the enemy or yanks them to you? Yeah.
And every time he would do this really cool animation where he'd go up in the air and just go freaking come down. I was like, that's so freaking cool. That's so freaking cool. So I personally think puppet string is probably one of the coolest ones just because it plays pretty well with the whole theme of everything. So I would say puppet string's probably my favorite.
I used all of them pretty frequently, honestly. Like I'd like to kind of change it up a little bit. I think for the most part, towards the end of the game, I was sticking towards cannon and the one that shoots electricity. That was really cool for me. And I kind of toggled between those and then the shield. Towards the end game though, like when I was fighting I think it was the final boss, I think I just had the cannon, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I used the shield for like the final bosses because there were certain attacks that I just like, I can't learn
There's
this
no
fucking
way.
thing. Just throw the shield up and try again with the next attack. So that was super helpful. And the DLC has a new Legion arm that shoots out these spinning blades that like they just kind of they stay at a certain distance and they just rotate. So if a boss is standing still, it does really good damage. Or if the boss is really big. So that was super helpful. And I used the flamethrower for most of the game until I switched to the shield.
Okay.
So this is one of those things that like, if a certain boss is giving you trouble, one of the first things that you can switch out is like, okay, I have the flamethrower. This boss is strong against fire, so it's not going to be helpful. Let me pull out a different Legion arm and like change this up. Another thing you can change is there's a weapon durability system. And so as you play, your weapons get less and less, health. I forgot the word, but you have this grindstone attached to your robot arm and you can sharpen your weapon back up, but you can also apply special effects. Like you can put fire on your weapon or acid, or there's a one later that like it turns every block into a perfect parry, which was really fucking clutch for some of the last boss fights. And this is like mechanic 2 of 8 or whatever that I wrote down here of like all these things to keep in mind. But this is what helps when you're like, this boss is really giving me trouble, but I have so many other things that I can like adjust to like give me a little edge in the fight. You still have to learn the fight, but like, hey, maybe my grindstone, like again, like the fire is not cutting it. Let me switch over to acid if the boss is weak to acid. And like, that could be the thing where like, instead of surviving 5 minutes in this boss fight, I need to survive 4 minutes. And
little
that's a huge
micro
difference.
tweaks you can make that makes
instead of respecking too.
It's just like these little tiny, like maybe I would do this, maybe I do that, maybe I'll get the edge, right? That'll give me just a tiny edge I need to make this fight better. And that's really cool. And I think this game does that a better job than some of the Soul games, right?
You just have a lot more stuff at your disposal here. Yeah.
And you're able to customize that much more. I mean, again, switching out between your Legion arm and then kind of choosing which one works best for which enemy, I think is key. And it makes a huge difference. Like once you understand like, oh, this is actually doing much better for me than what I did last game, like last fight. And you kind of, again, learn the method, understand the the fighting mechanics, like it makes a huge difference once you get that, like, okay, this is gonna be my weapon of choice and my Legion arm. Like you're gonna kill it this time, you know.
One thing I will ask you guys: were you able to respec your arms, or once you upgraded your arm, that was pretty much it? Because I'm pretty sure once you upgraded your arm, there was no way to get more of the whatever.
I think the arm is like the one thing you can't respec, but you can buy the items that upgrade them at a certain point. They're really expensive, but you can buy them, or like you can buy a limited number of them or something. By the end of the DLC, I think I had like 4 or 5 Legion arms maxed out.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So you had enough to like rotate to be like feel like you had a good. Okay.
You also have a lot of consumable items, throwing items, like items that boost your defense, items that you can throw. If you're having trouble in a boss, like maybe throw on the Gemini's protection item that like boosts your defense a little bit. Maybe you'll survive an extra hit and get yourself time to heal. There are special attacks that each weapon has. They're unique to the weapon, called Fable Arts. The one for the Wolverine claws in the DLC was like insanely strong, super clutch. Same with the Fable Art for that katana that I mentioned before. Those are like, I want to get your take on this because we've named a bunch of mechanics right now, a bunch of things that you have to keep up in your head during a boss fight. Do I have my weapon durability grindstone on, or do I have the one that's going to put the special effect on? Do I have the right consumables ready to use at the time? Do I have the right Legion arm? Do I need to refill my Legion with the ammo refills? Is my Fable gauge ready? Which Fable attack do I want to use? Like, there's a lot to keep in your head, all while you're dodging or parrying a boss and trying to stay alive. For most of this game, I had a hard time keeping all of it in my head, and I was like fumbling through, what item is activated in my tool belt and stuff like that. And there was like a couple things, like the cube. Never fucking used the cube. I had no room in my brain for the cube.
The cube was great, by the way. That thing saved me. That thing actually...
It saved you? Okay.
It did.
What,
it did.
Remind me what the cube does again?
The cube essentially gives you like a one-time buff. You go to a certain person, and then he imbues you where it'll keep regenerating your health or something like that during the fight when you activate it. So it's just
like, there's one that I used a couple times to like, if you summon in a phantom to help you on a boss, it will like boost their strength.
I
heal
remember
them.
now.
And
okay.
like,
I think the best way to explain the cube is what is the thing in Elden Ring where you like use the signs, where you like crush the signs and you're able to get the buff of the boss or something like that. That's pretty much what the cube does. Is it's like that. Yeah.
I didn't use the cube. I thought the method for I thought going back to that merchant to buy a refill every single time was a terrible idea. So I just ignored it. And I did it for the final boss. Basically, I got the cube back out because I was like, I need everything.
I need
this final boss.
Something to help me here.
The DLC fight. So I go through all of this stuff. This moment in the DLC final boss where it was so hard, where it was like my Legion arm, my grindstone, consumables, throwing items, the fucking cube came back out of retirement. I needed everything to beat this final boss. And like, I think it's a cool feeling when a game is like, empty your fucking toolkit.
Yes.
Use all your stuff. Be smart about your build. Use all your stuff. I think that's cool. It's just very hard. But anyway, I think we got off track. So were you guys able to like keep all this in your head? Because there's a lot going on in this game.
I think this is a problem with just the genre and of just Soulslikes, right? Is that like when it comes to item management, it's kind of tough, right? Because you got your 4 slots, and then you have the belt, and then you got to rotate through the belt to find what you want. So like, and if you mess up, then you just wasted something, and you're frustrated, and you mess up your flow. So I think this is just a product of just the type of game that it is. I don't think it's a bad thing or good. I just think that there's not really a great way of doing it. Because if you want to be able to have all those items on you and utilize them, it's not like you're playing on mouse and keyboard and you can like keybind it to like 8 or something. You're just like, oh, that's what that is. It's just like you're limited what you can do with the controller in that sense. So it took me a while because I was messing up a lot, especially with like the grindstone stuff, where it's like there's like they look the same kind of, but they're just like different colors. And I would just like in the middle of a fight, I'd just be like, no. So I would say I'm used to it because of the other types of games.
Yeah, I had, again, like I said, I had issues throughout the beginning half of the game. And it was probably because I just really wasn't utilizing my tool set, like my toolkit. I wasn't really utilizing like the grindstones. I wasn't swapping that much with my Legion arm until like towards the middle half of the game, where I was like, okay, I understand like what I have in my kit. Let me start playing with everything I have. And then that's when I started moving of like, okay, let me change my my Legion arm and let me see what these grindstones do, because like I haven't touched them like that. So it's one of those things of like, if you're not using your complete tool set, then you're kind of doing yourself a disservice, right?
Yeah.
Because these play a key role in the progression of the game, and it can make things a little bit easier for you if you just take the time to like, you know, play around and kind of like see what you have in your kit. So that was like my main thing. I'm like, okay, once I started realizing like I can really utilize the grindstones to my advantage, things got a little bit more easier. And then once I really understood like my Legion arm and what I could use for specific enemies, I wouldn't say I was like blowing through things, but I was making it that much easier for myself mid game.
I also want to add that I think this game does a really good job at making all of the items useful. I think there's a lot of games that don't do a good job at that, where like this item I'm never going to use. I feel like in Lies of P, for the most part, every single item that I got was utilized. I think by the end of the game, I had 0 of like most of everything, because I'm just like, shout out to the sharp pipe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. One of my MVPs during that DLC final boss was throwing pipes and shot puts.
Yep, the shot puts, heavy
Shot
damage.
puts, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's definitely good when a game like gives you all these items and then gives you a reason to keep them around and use them. Like you pick up these shitty little like gears or like these tiny little saw blades that you can throw, and they don't do a lot of damage, but what they can do is like pull an enemy away from a pack, so you don't have to fight 3 dudes at once, which is never a good idea.
Yep.
And so there's always a little use for everything. And even if I wasn't popping those like, you know, Gemini's protection drinks in a regular level, in a boss fight, I was suddenly like, okay, that's a good idea. Let me carry some of those. Let me carry some of those things that heal status effects. Let me make sure that I have stuff that can do status effects to a boss, because all the bosses are weak to something. And speccing your character the right way, like I said, like this boss would take you 5 minutes of, you know, you have to perform basically perfectly to beat a boss. You can make little mistakes, but like you can't make a huge mistake. Otherwise you'll get comboed to death. So the difference of like playing at top level for 5 minutes versus 4 minutes, if you use some consumables or status effects, like that's a big difference. And this game gives you the tools. Something that I thought like, you know, Sekiro did a poor job of that. Bloodborne was basically just all about the combat, learn to parry and stuff like that. Elden Ring was incredible for giving you tools to play around with and help out. And Lies of P absolutely did that same type of thing. So there's one other thing about gameplay I wanted to get your takes on. It is a common criticism that I hear about Lies of P, and that's the level design. We talked about, I see those looks. I think I'm with you. We talked about the environment design and like the art of the levels, and that's awesome. But a lot of people don't like how the levels themselves are constructed. So I saw those looks. So I'll let you guys take this first.
It's funny that we didn't mention level design, right? Because that's something that in the back of my head, I absolutely love in this game. Similar again to Bloodborne, where everything is connected in a sense, right? And just having that level design where you start in the beginning of the game and then midpoint, you kind of revert back to that same spot because of just such a well-designed level map. Like, to me, that is phenomenal. Like, I love when games like that do that, because it has like this intricate way of like bringing things back full circle, right? And so I disagree fully to whoever that is. Like, to me, I think the level design here is phenomenal, and they've done a great job.
Yeah, I'm in full agreement that the level design is fantastic. I mean, everything felt like it connected to each other in the sense of like, and I'm not even saying like in the level itself. I'm saying the world felt like it was a living, breathing world, and I didn't feel like I like went past the door. I'm like, oh my god, I'm in a completely different location. I still felt like I was still connected to that part of the world, and it didn't feel super outlandish that I was in this place, and I still it was in the same world. Whereas some games you like, all right, you're gonna go to this level, and it's gonna be completely different to wherever you. It kind of all felt organic, which I think is important to have. So maybe people complaining about maybe that aspect too, where like they weren't so vastly different from each other. They wanted more variety, and like I wanted a Winter Wonderland, and I wanted a swamp level, and I wanted, like you did have that in the game. They did
do
exist.
get a swamp level, yeah.
Right, but maybe there wasn't enough for people that they wanted. But I thought the levels kind of flowed nicely into each other.
Yeah, this game felt to me like the world and the way it connected, again, kind of reminds me of Bloodborne, where like you're in the city for a lot of the game, and like you go to different locations in the city. So like it's a lot of city streets, and then you'll get to like a factory, or you'll get to the zoo, or the grand exhibition, as they call it. It's like a museum that you go to. It's all within the city. So if people are saying that it's too samey, like it is kind of all within the city, but I was never tired of the locations. I think the criticism that I've heard more is that the levels themselves, like the geometry of them, if you think about like a Dark Souls level is famous for like you start at this bonfire, you go around for a path, and then you loop back, you open up a locked door that takes you back to the bonfire. And then maybe along the way you picked up a key that will open a door to go on a new path. And then maybe it'll loop back to the bonfire a second time. And then that will allow you to go into the boss fight. And some Lies of P levels are like this, but not all of them. And I think that's a thing where like, if people are talking about level design and they're like, this was something I didn't like, I'm like, yeah, they're not all like that. But I loved exploring the levels. So I didn't mind the fact that not every level is built on those loops. And a lot of them are to begin with anyway. The DLC specifically has a lot of like straight shot, like linear from bonfire to bonfire, no shortcuts type of levels, which really reminded me of like Dark Souls 3 style levels. But I like them because in the DLC, you're in the coolest fucking locations in the game. So I didn't mind it because it wouldn't make sense for me to like loop back when I'm going through like a ship graveyard in the ice. Like,
yeah.
Instead of like manufacturing a reason to have a shortcut, I'll just walk linearly through this level. It's fine. The cool thing, I think like the thing that makes me not bothered by this is I'm always motivated to explore, whether the levels loop back on themselves or not. Like that's not a prerequisite for me to enjoy a level. So I'm good. I'm having so much fun. And this is one of those things where I said, Round8 feels like they really understand what makes the FromSoftware games good. And FromSoftware has the best levels in video games for my money to explore. Anytime you go and you're like, okay, I got a castle in front of me, I'm going to have the best time exploring this castle. I always know that, and it always pays off.
Yeah.
And Lies of P gave me that same feeling. So yeah, like I understand, like, yes, you are correct. Anyone who's like, the level design doesn't loop back all the time like the Dark Souls levels. Like, yeah, you're correct. Did not bother me in the slightest though.
I don't think it needs to all the time. I think times that it did do it, it did it well. Like it was purposeful, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys. Maybe this is a question for you guys, but do you remember the game? And obviously, Dave, since you played it recently, do you remember that there's levels in the game that are very kind of layered, similar to like Elden Ring? Like, you know how like there's your layer, like your first layer of the map, and then you have like a bottom level and a top level, and then like even a topper level. Like, do you remember this game having like these layers of like you can go from like the city down to like, you know, lower level of the city, but then you can kind of get back up to the higher level? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some of the early levels were like that, where you're like, you have the street level and you also have rooftops to run up on.
Right. Yeah.
And you like go through buildings and stuff. Like those levels are a lot of fun to explore. So like, yeah.
And that was what I'm getting at. So it's like this game does a really well job of like creating those levels to, you know, keep you engaged, right? And you know, a question to you, Dave, did that kind of reciprocate over to the DLC? I mean, you did mention that some of them were kind of like linear levels, but did you also have like those layered like levels that you can kind of like go on top of the rooftops or something similar to that?
Not really. The zoo level in the DLC has like animal enclosures, so like
so cool. So cool.
it's awesome. So like there's one part in the DLC in the zoo level when you're up on like these high beams that like the gorillas would get up on, and you can like go up there, you can go down on the ground in the enclosure, but it's like it's definitely not to the extent of like those Krat City street levels that we're thinking of. And then a lot of the levels are just a straight shot through, you know, basically like a hallway in some cases. But you're going up through ships. There's a building that you go into. I don't know, like even if the level design was less complicated, I always had fun playing it. So I always had fun exploring levels in these games is like one of my favorite things in all of video games to do is exploring Souls levels. So this game gave me that, like from start to finish, no levels where I was like, that was dog shit. It was just a big circle, you know?
Yeah, and they did a good job mixing it up, right? From linear to looping back to, and I think that's good to do to keep you guessing. It's like, what's going to do? Because if you're playing a Souls-like or a Souls game, you know, like a Dark Souls, you know, this is going to loop somehow. Where's the loop? You know, whereas Lies of P, I never felt like, where's a loop, right? It's just, I'm going where the game wants me to go. That's it. That's all I'm going. There's a cool bad guy right there. He probably has a cool weapon. That's all I care about right now. So
historically, I hate levels with like anything to do with sewers or what's the other one, like sewers,
poison swamps.
Yeah, poison swamps. Yeah. And like I'm
this
pretty
is the
sure
wrong
this
genre for you.
Yeah, I know. And this game has both, right? And so
Rot Lakes,
another one. I love those, right? So, but this is it. This, like it made it interesting. Like I never felt like I was either bored or I'm like I want to get out of here. I can't wait to the next level design. Like I was like fully in this world, right? And so that's a testament. Like for me, I hate those levels, but I did not mind them whatsoever when I was playing this game.
Yeah, that was part of the cool part about picking up the DLC and playing it. Like I took like maybe a week between beating the main game and playing the DLC, but the thing I was most looking forward to, and I've said this so many times, but like the thing I was most looking forward to was more levels, not more bosses, more levels, because that's my favorite thing. I would take a new Lies of P level or a new Elden Ring level or something, you know, every 2 months for the rest of my life. I will never get tired of it, ever.
Yep.
No.
And then I just do the thing where it's like, oh, it's been 5 years since I played Dark Souls 2. I'm playing Dark Souls 2 now because I get to experience those levels again. It's just like one of my favorite things that any video game can offer. And it's one of the things that like, I remember playing like The Surge, and the level design was like a disaster in that game. They were like, you want shortcuts? We're going to have 10,000 fucking shortcuts in this level. And this is one of those ways that I feel like the developers, like they're not just inspired by FromSoftware in Lies of P. They're like students of why those games work.
100%.
And the boss fights too. Let's talk about the boss fights. So we talked about like how it's hard and stuff, but the boss fights feel like they could have been plucked from any number of Souls games and fit. So this is not my favorite thing about these games. I'm one of those people that like, I want to see the boss one time and then I want to move on. I don't want to spend 5 hours fighting the same boss.
Like you said, you like the environment aspect.
You like the adventure of the...
Yeah, I like the exploration.
Exploration of it.
Lies of P lets you summon an NPC helper for basically every boss.
Thank God.
And I did it for basically every boss.
Yep. Fine.
Because, like I said, like I want to see what it looks like. I want to see its moves, but I don't want to be here for 2 hours fighting this thing.
Because then it loses its fun factor for you. You're like, I'm not having fun anymore. I'm stuck. I want to keep adventuring. And you're not letting me adventure anymore. I got the gist of the boss. You're kicking my ass. I get it. it. Let me pass.
So that's where those NPC helpers, and like, they're not good. Like, they don't dominate the boss fights at all. They just kind of like...
Aggro.
they just draw aggro, right?
Yeah.
But like that's all it takes sometimes is just I need something to take the pressure off of me so that I can heal, or that I can just stand back throwing fire bombs or whatever I need to do. So yeah. What do you guys think of the boss fights generally?
Kelvin, I'll let you go first on that one.
I think they were great. I mean, for the most part, I'm kind of in line with you, Dave, where like I love the boss fights, but I kind of want to see what the next level looks like and where you're taking me next. So for me, the boss fights are almost kind of like the block between me and the actual gameplay of like I want to just explore this environment, whereas now I have to like figure out how to beat this boss, right? So I didn't have a problem with them. I think, again, like I said, towards the middle of the game, for some reason there was like a huge spike for me, and that's where it got really difficult. And some of the boss fights I was just like really dragging. I'm just like, man, I don't know if I can. I almost lost it. I was like, I almost can't beat this game at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the boss fights we'll talk about, in a bit, I was like, I don't know, man. I think I spoke to Rob. I actually messaged Rob and I was like, do you have any, he was a little bit ahead of me. So I was like, do you have any idea what to do? Because I am
think
like
it's the same.
I
think it might be the same boss that.
I'm like this
talking
close
about,
to like, it has to do with the bridge. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
I'm like this
yep,
close to
yep.
like just cutting it quits, man. Like I'm done.
I think we all did the same strategy for that one. So,
So yeah, for the most part, the boss fights, I was enjoying them, and I love the design of them. Again, some of them are very grotesque and just like disgusting, straight out of Bloodborne.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that part of it. But it wasn't like my favorite thing to do, if that makes sense.
for me, the boss fights, as far as design goes, they were kind of hit or miss for me. I don't think they were on. Some of them were like, oh my god, this is like from the Bloodborne, from Dark Souls, and there were some just like, okay. I'll be honest, the first two, cool, but they didn't sell me on the game. It wasn't until after the first two I'm like, oh, it's not just it's not just this. There's other stuff. Because I'm just like, oh, it's just they're all going to be, yeah, they're all going to be, they're all going to be. That's it. That's all that they're going to offer me. And I felt like with the humanoid boss fights, except for one, there's one that's insane. They were definitely the difficulty on those was a lot easier than more of the bigger boss fights, for sure. Just some of them are just absolutely insane. But I felt like the humanoids, especially the stalkers, they went down pretty easy in my opinion. And yeah, I think that I would like to see in Lies of P2 more grander boss fights.
We'll talk about what they might do for Lies of P2 in the spoiler section, because there's something weird that happens that makes anything possible, basically. But I do think that you mentioned the stalkers, they're like this faction of humans, basically. They are much better boss fights than like FromSoftware NPC fights. Those are janky fucking messes in FromSoftware games.
I agree.
And
yeah.
They're very smooth, and they actually feel like you're just like you're fighting another character like you. I think it's just that like the AI and the animations are better in here. Those are good. And then the designs of everything is just a creative design for sure, especially as you get deeper in the game and the more and more fucked up things get. It's always cool to see, which is what I want to do. I want to see it. We have been going for a while, so let's get into our kind of like non-spoiler wrap-up thoughts here. We'll get into spoilers here in a minute. So in this part, we just kind of summarize if we have summarizing to do, but who do you think especially should play Lies of P?
Any fan of Dark Souls genre, anyone that likes Souls-like, if anything, I would say this is second. I don't even want to say second best. I think it's right up there with the FromSoftware game, right? Like it's its own thing, and you're gonna feel right at home playing this game. Kelvin hates when I do this, but I always say, well, why don't you just play this game instead? Or I wish you played like this game. But this game feels like its own game. And I think that's the best compliment I could ever give to a game, because there's so many out there now that to have something unique but still take different elements from all these different things is huge. So even if this is your first Souls-like game.
Yeah, I was going to ask. We've obviously made a lot of comparisons to Bloodborne especially, but to Sekiro and the Dark Souls series, because like that's the context that we have coming into Lies of P. But I'm glad that you mentioned that. I was going to ask you guys also, like, for someone who's never played those games, do you think that like you need to play Bloodborne before playing Lies of P? I don't think you do. I think that this stands on its own perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think this is a great entry point for newcomers alike too. I mean, again, like we mentioned before, there's so much options for you to like utilize and weapons that you can use that makes it, I wouldn't say easier, but it makes it a little bit more, I don't know, it lessens the blow, I guess, for
it's more accessible for everyone.
Right? It's more accessible.
Yeah.
And again, my elevator pitch for this is like, this is like one of the best Souls games that is not FromSoftware. So if you are a fan of FromSoftware games, then this is right up your alley. So I'm sure those that are FromSoftware fans did not miss this game. And if you did, you're doing yourself a disservice. Like, you should definitely try this game out, because it is one of the greatest, Souls-like games out there.
I'm going to say something insane. Sorry, guys. I think you should play this game at this point in time. If you have never, I would play this game over Bloodborne right now.
That's not as outlandish as I think it
is.
Because
there are people that would be like, stop.
You could definitely, like, if you're making like a TikTok or something, you could definitely make it into an outlandish statement, the way you frame it. But like the fact that like Lies of P has difficulty options, Bloodborne doesn't. Lies of P has all these other tools to use. Bloodborne really only has a couple that you can really rely on. It's why I think this is actually a good first Souls or Souls-like game.
Yeah.
Because if you're new to the genre and you're like, I don't want to play Sekiro first, you can play Lies of P and like put it on easy and like just get your feet wet and figure out how things work, and then, move up from there if you want to. But
yeah, lots of nice quality of life stuff that they, nice amenities that they have in that game.
They picked it up, over the 8 years between those two games releasing. There's a lot of things that people learn, and I really got the feeling that like they played a lot of those older FromSoftware games, and they had little changes that they thought that would make their game better instead of just copying systems. And that's what helps this game stand on its own, for sure.
And the last thing I'll say too is, just for the story on its own, it's a really good story. So what's hard about the Souls games is that the story's kind of hard to get into, whereas this, you don't have to really do digging like we talked about earlier. So you're getting good gameplay, you're getting pretty much brand new gameplay, like that's current, and a great story. So I think this is the perfect, if you like the genre, this is the perfect first game to go.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we have our recommendations. Notice there wasn't a whole lot of criticism throughout the show up until now. It was just me being like, hey, I thought the cube sucked. But other than that, it's just a really fucking good game. So we have spoilers ahead of us, but first, a little bit of housekeeping. And we always start with talking about the things that the guests do. So at the top of the show, I said that Kelvin and Rob are the hosts of The Gaming Duo. So guys, tell people about the show and where they can find you.
Oh, me. Okay. Yeah. So you can find us on all your favorite streaming platforms. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Spotify is probably our favorite just because we do video format on that. So you can see our faces. And me and Kelvin essentially talk about the gaming industry and talk about current events. And we also bring topics that we think are pretty hot and are debatable. So we could range from anything from something from nostalgia to we just talked about PS6 rumors that are happening last week. So and if you guys want some fun banter between me and my best friend that I've known since I was 8 years old, it's a good time, and we really do love gaming. We really have a passion for it. So I think you'll find enjoyment for that. Anything to add, Kelv?
Yeah, not only that, but towards the end of the show, we also do like some little game kind of section as well. So those are always great to look forward to. We do like ranking stuff. We do like what, this or that. So there's a lot of cool things at the end as well. And don't forget to join our Discord. Our Discord is always lively and we're always talking about, again, gaming industry stuff, just fun topics all together. And we have a very lively Discord. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's a fun show. It's a fun Discord. You guys were kind enough to have me on the show before, and I had a good time on the show. I don't talk about news like ever on podcasts, so it was fun to get on there and just talk about the goings on, the new stuff and new announcements and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll echo the what you guys said. It's a fun show, and people should check it out. And if you're looking for, are you guys doing it weekly now? For a while, you were doing it like several times a week. You're not doing that anymore.
We were doing it daily.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're not doing that. That was just a trial error for us. But we're doing it every week. So
Right.
you can catch us. We're moving our episodes now onto Tuesdays. So you can catch us every Tuesday.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a great time.
Yeah. Well, I'll recommend, if you guys are looking for a weekly news and just general topics show, and like you said, you guys have known each other for a while, the chemistry is very evident. And I'll put links down in the show notes so people can easily find the show. And I recommend that they do. So I did my plugs at the top of the show. The last one that I'll mention is my Discord server, which is, like you guys said, I think it's a friendly place. It is a lively place. We would love to have anybody come join. It's open to the public, so feel free to hop in if you're a Lies of P fan. We're going to open the spoiler section here with our favorite boss fights. So if you want to come in and talk about your favorite boss fights or what you thought about the story or anything like that, feel free to jump in. But we also have a lot of stuff going on. At the time of recording, we have a pretty lively Silksong channel as people play through that game and share the discoveries that they've made. So yeah. Invite link for the Discord is in the show notes as well. Now, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, it's going to be full spoiler time for Lies of P. All right, before we get to full spoiler time for Lies of P, a quick announcement about a guest appearance I did and the customary thank yous. I was recently on the Greatest Story Ever Played podcast to chat with Dan about Titanfall 2, which is a really fun game to talk about, and I think we had a great conversation. You can go check that out on the Greatest Story Ever Played podcast. I'll put a link down in the show notes so you can easily find it. And as always, I'd like to say thank you to the wonderful patrons who help support the show. A big thank you goes out to Chris Nelson, Zulgeek, Chris Copleen, Eric Guess, Rick Firestone, Nick Fakori, Soccer, Cupcake, Kyle, Christian S., Matt aka Stormageddon, JD, Doug Leaf, Jason Emery, Brian Skirsha, Jenny E., Marcus O'Neill, Stefan, Drellish, Rob Smith, Rigamort, Sil Canet, Levi, John E., Aliasi, Joseph Hooper, Yorkie Duval, Aaron, Squill, Alan K., Doug T., Retro Overdrive, and many more. I really appreciate the support that these fine folks have given me, and if you would like to be like them, you too can have my everlasting love and respect, and you can start by going to patreon.com/realdavejackson. And with that being said, let's get back to full spoiler time for Lies of P. All right, we're back. It's full spoiler time for Lies of P. And a couple of things before we get into it. Number one, there's a lot going on in the story. We're going to talk about some things that we think are particularly cool about the story, but we're not going to be like the definitive source for the Lies of P story. There's probably a YouTuber making a career off of that right now. So go patronize them, go check out their stuff. We're going to talk about like stuff that we think stands out as cool and noteworthy, but we're not going to talk about everything. And then the other thing is we're not going to go in a linear order through the story. So if you're like halfway through Lies of P, we're probably going to talk about the final boss very soon. So be warned, we're not going in any kind of order. So with that being said, I thought it'd be fun to start with just our top 3 boss fights. These can be like, mechanically, I thought the moves were great. You like the designs, you like the story, whatever goes into your top 3 bosses. So do one of you guys want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I can go first.
All right,
cool.
Take it away. Number 3.
Number 3, I would say for me, the Black Rabbit Brotherhood boss, the second time that you fight them.
All 3 of them?
Yes.
Okay.
That was pretty epic. It was hard, but
Yeah, hard.
I thought it was epic because again, you're fighting them for the second time, and it was just exciting to just kind of get them in, like just kind of like take them down one by one. And then at the end, get this like surprise moment where you're like, you see the coffin, and then you're fighting like
Here's
their older
Freddy.
brother, and you're like, wait, what the fuck? Like, come on, dude. And so like you think you beat them, and then all of a sudden you have to fight another boss, which is probably just as hard, if not harder, than all 3 of them combined.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like a oh shit moment for me.
Yeah.
But that was like a really cool boss fight. Like I thought it just stuck in my head for the most part.
You knew something was popping out of that coffin.
Oh
at
yeah,
some point.
100%, man.
We've been here before. We know what's up. I didn't like that fight, but I don't like any fight where I'm fighting 2 or 3 things at the same time. Just give me one thing to fight.
Stressful.
Really like unresolved trauma from, there's this fight in the Dark Souls 2 DLC where you fight 3 NPCs, and it's like it's so fucking bad.
Yeah.
And this really reminded me of that in a bad way. Like, this was, don't get me wrong, much better than the one in Dark Souls 2. But still not a fan of, like, I guess the thing that saves this one is at least they kind of take turns. Like, 2 will jump in and 1 will kind of hang back.
Right. Right.
It's always like the big guy, and then one of the other ones will kind of be like around, and then the other one's hanging way back in the distance, and they kind of trade off. So it's not like a poorly designed fight. I just didn't like it.
I had to cheese that one. I had to use like
I remember you cheesed the crap.
I cheesed out of that fight because I had to like use like a hay bale to like separate him from me, and I would just like poke him from like behind the hay bale.
Hey.
So like,
Do what you gotta do, man.
No, yeah. If they put a hay bale in the boss arena, by all
That's on
means,
them.
use
That's
that
on
shit.
them.
I don't think it was a barrel or something. It was something. It was
Yeah.
something. That
It was-
was
I think it was like a rock of some,
Yeah,
of
it was
some sort.
something.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
I beat the final boss of Dark Souls 1 like that the first time I played Dark Souls 1. Is there's a big rock in the middle of the arena, and I use that rock.
Yep.
So, okay, Rob, what's your number 3?
This one he's a mini boss fight, so I will say
Okay.
that. And I don't think he's anything like technically crazy but the Mad Clown puppet.
Oh, the one that's in the street?
Oh, fuck that guy.
Exactly.
The one that's coming down the hill?
Yeah.
He's just throwing rocks. He's just throwing the boulders at you, the fire boulders at you.
Yep.
Hate that guy.
The feeling that I got once I got up to him and beat the crap out of him, I'm like, that is gaming right there. That is gaming right there.
This
You're
game,
just
I am at my peak right now.
that is just like, you're frustrated. I died so many times trying to come up there, and he's just
Yeah.
laughing at me because he has the long arms. And
And the funny part is you could probably progress. You could probably just run past him, but you don't
can.
want to.
no, you
Yeah.
don't want to.
You have to kill him.
You
Yeah.
have to kill him because
Yeah.
he's just going to keep laughing at you. He's going to
So-
keep laughing at you.
That one was a good fight because it was like kind of different. It was kind of like stereotypical, just like put in like a gag boss, because I feel like that was just kind of like he's throwing like these freaking boulders at you.
Yeah.
But it got to a point where it was like getting so frustrating, and I'm just like, and I finally got to him, and I like that they kind of put that in the game as much as I hated myself during that fight. But it was kind of different compared to everything else. So I would say the Mad Cloud puppet, just the way it made me feel when I got to the top.
You know, it's like particularly tough too, because you can't summon for that because it's a mini boss. It's just in the
Right.
street. And there's those 2 like stationary puppets throwing fire bombs at you from like the sides of that hill. So it was always like a thing, like I got to hurry. I got to take those things out. And then I got to like just try to stay alive against this thing. It comes back later. I don't remember if it's in the base game or the DLC, but it comes back, and I beat the fuck out of it the first time I saw it because I was so practiced from fighting
Yeah.
it so many times that first time.
I think I remember. I think I saw him. I think it's in the base game, but I saw him again. I was
Yeah.
like, "Here we go again. Let's
Yeah.
go."
You're not ready for me this time. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. My number 3 is probably the King of Puppets plus Romeo fight, two-part fight. One where you're fighting like this giant ass puppet, and then one when you're fighting Romeo, who is also a puppet. This was the mid-game like skill check boss for me, and this was the point where I was like, I can't imagine not parrying my way through this fight. Like he's got an attack that reminds me of Millennia from Elden Ring. This one and the final boss from the DLC has one of these attacks too, where it's like you either parry it or you got to like get really far away because it's like a never ending combo.
You just die. Yeah.
Yeah. You just die, which is more likely. So, I like that fight, even though it was really hard because it's like two very different fights. You got like a big fucking dude and you can, you're faster than him, so you can maneuver around. And then the second part, you fight Romeo, and it's like you're fighting a swordsman like yourself. It's tough, but it was definitely like satisfying with the Spectre. Like I didn't do it by myself, but like it was satisfying to do it. And then learning more about Romeo's story in the DLC was interesting to find out like finally, like what's the deal with Romeo, the King of Puppets? Because Romeo's not a puppet in the DLC. He's a human.
Yep.
But in the main game, when you fight him, he's a puppet, which is interesting. We maybe talk about that in a bit. But that's my number 3. Kelvin, what's your number 2?
Man, it's there's so many great boss fights, so limiting it down to 3 is hard, right? And I will say, I enjoy my boss fights that are just kind of like Rob said, like humanoid characters, like kind of like Romeo, where you're just kind of fighting like 1-to-1, kind of like, boots to the ground kind of thing, right? But for me, my second pick would have to be, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her right, but Lexia, the complete
Laxasia.
Yeah.
That's the one that I was kind of like hinting towards earlier, where it's like the bridge. My God, that was the breaking point for me in this game, where I was just like, I'm not sure if I'm going to continue this game, man, because I think I died the most out of every boss fight. Was that boss fight? It was hands down one of the hardest fights I had in that game. To the point where, again, I reached out to Rob. I was like, do you have any tips, any pointers? Because I am struggling right now, man. And I used Spectre as well. I had to have somebody with me. And I don't really quite remember when everything just clicked and I actually eventually beated her. But it was profoundly just the hardest boss fight I had in that game. It was the most I've died. It was just like a barrier. And I'm like, the door's right there. I just got to get past her. And I just can't, So, and plus, it's just a cool boss fight. Like, she looks really cool. She looks badass. I love the cutscene, like pre and post. And it's such a cool, like, she has a cool kit. Like, everything about her is badass. So
yeah,
that was an awesome boss fight for me.
I would say that's also in my top 3. So I'll just like say my thing now. Everything you said, like the setting is cool on the bridge. It felt like a Souls boss fight. And then I really like the part where she flies up in the air and shoots the lightning balls, and you can like deflect them back at her like it's Ocarina of Time.
That
like
was cool.
It's really cool. I like that they give you that option, because like FromSoftware would never give you that option. You just have to dodge all those lightning balls. So for them to be like, no, parry them back, it's going to really do a lot of damage. It's super cool. So yeah, I like that fight a lot too. It's easy top 3.
I'm going to say a different one, but I definitely loved that boss fight. I did have to cheese that one as well. And when I say cheese, I had to get the acid spear, and I had to just keep poking her with the acid and watch the damage just melt her away, basically.
I used acid too. Like, don't get me wrong. I did the grindstone, and then I had the consumable grindstones to just like keep it up basically all the time.
Yeah, I think that's how you have to beat her.
Yeah, she's an insanely hard fight. Like, I would say she's definitely top 3 hardest fights in the game, at least the base game. But I'm gonna give a shout out to Simon Manus.
Yeah, the mandatory final boss.
Yeah.
Yes, because I had to throw everything at him to kill him. Like, everything in my arsenal. We were talking earlier about, like, using all the items in useful. I'm like, I literally used every single item to kill that dude. And that to me, I'm like, this feels like a proper boss fight. You know, it's just like the big hulking guy, and then he has another form, and he's like God, and he's throwing all these super duper Kamehameha waves at you, and he's big. You know what I mean? And it just feels like a grand fight. And I felt super accomplished after I beat him, which I think is just like, you can't ask for more than a boss fight. So I thought that was a really cool fight.
That one was really tough. Wasn't in my top 3, but I did, like, I think it's cool. Like the storyline with the alchemists and how they're trying to ascend, like beyond humanity. And then you get to the final boss where like the head alchemist is so corrupted. He's basically like this beast now. But then in that phased cutscene when like the hand of God reaches down and he touches, and then he gets like this holy magic spells and stuff like that. That second phase was like, it was too much, I think. There's like a lot of visual stuff. I had a hard time seeing what was going on. But like I did it. I beat him. It was okay. But it was another one where like I needed the right like grindstone for, it was probably acid again, because acid works on everything.
Yeah. It was probably acid.
But it was probably that, and it was like I was using the grindstone to get perfect parries. I never used like, so I only used the consumable ones for status effects. Like the special one was all just giving me perfect parries. And I liked in the boss fights, like figuring out the right time to bust that out. When they're going to have like their biggest combo, I'm going to block it all and I'm going to do a bunch of posture damage and stuff. It was always rewarding. So that was one of those for sure. My number 2, I was Laxasia. So we'll skip me for now. And Kelvin, what's your number 1?
My number 1, I had to dig deep into this one. Again, it's been like about 3 years since I played this game, so just bear with me here. But it was Fallen Bishop, Archbishop.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
And
That's
it's
a
really
good one.
because, again, we go back to the whole Bloodborne talk and like how just terrifying and grotesque these like the characters look. This
Yeah.
one is up there with how disgusting it looks, right? And it was a tough boss fight. It wasn't one of the hardest fights that I had, but it was definitely, it gave me a challenge, and I had fun playing and fighting that boss fight.
Did you play Dark Souls 3?
No, I played a little bit of it, but not enough to like really say I did. So no.
Okay. There's a boss in Dark Souls 3 that's like exactly like this, like a grotesque monster puppeting like the corpse of a human.
Yeah.
And like at a certain point, like they're both attacking you like this is. The difference in this one is it's like both sides. So like one side is the human side and one side is the beast side.
Yes.
And the part that really unlocked this fight for me was like, you have to fight the beast side in phase 1, but in phase 2, I could not beat the beast side. So when I switched to fighting the human side, I took care of business pretty quickly, but it took me to like, you know, strategize like, all right, this beast, this ass side is like just destroying me.
Yep.
So let me switch it up. Let me fight. The other side looks scarier, but it's actually not.
Yep.
It's
Actually
easier.
not. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love
That's a
that
good pull.
it was a cool, like, you know, again, swapping between the human side to like the beastly side. So it was a fun, very fun kind of like boss fight that I was like, oh, very pleasantly surprised that it was this amount of fun, but also it just looked gross. So.
I was gonna say to you, Kelv, that is the boss fight where this game really, really was like clicking for me. I was like, oh, it's not just puppets. It's
Yeah.
That was just like, this is sick. Okay, let's go. Yep.
And it's actually cool because it again, it's kind of forming the two together, right? Where like you have like the kind of like the puppet side of things, and then you have like this like really gross looking thing that just kind of like the carcass that just meshed together. It's a cool and terrifying thing. So
Yeah, it's a good fight. Agreed. Rob, what's your number 1?
Number 1 is the nameless puppet.
Yeah, my number 1 also. Kind of by default, but
yeah.
I like it. So take it away.
I will be short with the nameless puppet. I mean, it's everything that you kind of want in an end boss fight, right? It's a humanoid. It kind of reminds me of, you know, the Wolverine movie with Deadpool at the end, where like he's all bald. It's it's like Wolverine X3 or something like that. It's a really bad one. It's not good. And,
Origins Wolverine.
Yeah. And then Deadpool's at the end, and he's just like all like, they like modified
Yeah.
him and stuff like that. So it
Yeah.
reminded me of like a cool version of that.
Right. What if that version of Deadpool was cool? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I just liked like everything was leading up to him, and you're just like, oh, hey, this is basically, you, right? And you're fighting like, and then the DLC 2 part is gonna be, it goes in more detail about that and stuff like that.
Mhm.
This boss fight actually broke me. I actually couldn't get past the nameless. That's where I gave up on the game. I actually never beat the game past Nameless Puppet. I couldn't do it. I was throwing myself over and over again. I respect, and I told Kelvin, I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I will accept defeat, and I will not beat this Nameless Puppet. So he deserves top 1 for me. So.
Gotcha. I thought it was tough. But it's just one of those where like I kind of saw the Matrix after like 10 tries and I just like took him out. It definitely took like a very specific setup. Like I said, the grindstone to spec for the perfect deflections, using it at the right time. I forget, since he's a puppet, I probably used the electricity abrasive thing, but like for a optional final boss, it was not as like hate fuck difficult as I thought it could have been. But this is one of those things about these games. The way that these specific boss fights work is like, you might be good at like a boss that like really gave me fits. There's one in the DLC that like, I hated. I could not fucking do it. And it's just like this giant thing and it's just so big. And like someone else might hear me say that and be like, yeah, I beat that thing on like my 3rd try. I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
That's kind of how the Nameless Puppet was, where it's like, it was really hard, but I saw the Matrix and I did well enough on one run that I took him out. But it was super satisfying to do it. And the story implication of the Nameless Puppet's very cool too. This is the puppet. Surprise, everybody. Geppetto is the villain of Lies of P. He's not your loving dad.
No.
No.
He built this puppet to be the new Carlo. Carlo was his son who died. And he built this puppet to be the new Carlo. But he didn't make it as like a sweet puppet. He made it a killing machine. And he unleashes it on you if you refuse to give up your heart at the end of the game. So, Rob, did you give up your heart?
I did not. Oh, no, I think you can only fight him if you say no to not giving up your heart.
Right, but you can go to the Stargazer right next to the boss arena, and there's an option in the menu to give him your heart, and you can just like go to the ending from there.
I think I literally YouTubed the 2 endings.
Yeah.
So I did.
Which
I
is,
didn't.
I do that all the time, where I'm just like, fuck it, I'm watching it on YouTube.
Yep.
I put enough time into that fight that I was just like, no, I got
Yeah.
one in the out of there. I got him.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For sure. Do you guys have any honorable mention fights, just like quick lightning round style?
The final DLC boss fight looked absolutely insane.
I did not actually see. Yeah, I didn't go that past. I didn't want to see the final DLC boss, just in case I actually go back
He's
and play.
so
the game.
cool and badass.
Yeah,
So you guys remember you find him in the alchemist hideout, that puppet who has been giving you the riddles throughout the game, and you finally find him, and he's like broken and like tied up and chained to walls and shit. His name is Arlecchino, and that's the antagonist of the DLC is Arlecchino, because we're back in the past.
Yeah.
He was this killer puppet, and he's the final boss of the DLC, and he's extremely fucking difficult. He's one of those bosses that never stops attacking, basically. So the only way that I could do it was I needed Leah, I don't remember how to say her name. She's the legendary stalker. I'm going to call her Leia. You meet her in the DLC, and there's this really cool moment where you're down in this village, and there's this like hill to go up to reach the Monad Charity House. And you team up with her and you run up the hill together and you fight with her. And it's like, it's really cool. It's really like exciting to be fighting alongside somebody else. It never happens in these games. In like she talks to you throughout the journey up there, and you like fight, and she has the petrification disease. So every now and then she like doubles over and she's like, I need a second.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's really, really good. And then you can fight with her in the final boss fight too. And they have this mechanic where if she dies, she goes down, and you go over and like bring her back. Like if you're playing, a multiplayer, like I don't know if I haven't played Call of Duty in so long, but like you can like revive your teammates, right?
Gears of War, you pick them up.
In Gears of War, yeah. Let's use that. That's how it works. And so like if you get a free second in the fight, you can run over and like bring her back. And you fight together. When you stagger him in the DLC and you do like the big, killer attacks, you do team up attacks and they have like, they're
That's
animated
so
and you like take
freaking
turns
cool.
going in and bashing. It's super cool.
I need to play this. God damn it. I need to
It's-
fucking play this.
It's very cool. But I still couldn't do it without the perfect block grindstone. I use the consumable that restores grindstone uses. So I was basically always using that thing, throwing pipes and shot puts. And they give you a consumable in the DLC that's like, this raises all your stats. And I had to pop those. It was like everything.
You're using
Emptying the
everything at
toolkit.
your disposal. Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
the cube? Did you have the cube on you?
I did use the cube to boost her offense.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only time in the game I used the cube.
At the end of the game, did you actually start liking the cube, or you're still like, no, fuck this thing?
No, because I used it once and then I went back to the boss fight and I was like, oh, fuck, it doesn't replenish when you die. I have to go back to the hotel to replenish it.
Fucking hotel.
What a
I'm telling
dog
you.
shit idea. That's my honorable mention is like that general set piece, teaming up with Leia, storming the Monad charity house. Romeo was her apprentice. That's why she's a part of this story. And Romeo's been captured by Arlecchino. And at the end of the DLC, sorry to spoil for you, Kelvin, but
Don't worry about it.
at the end of the DLC, you beat Arlecchino, you tear him apart. That's why he's all torn up when you find him in the main game. And then Leia is there like with Romeo. Romeo's still alive, human Romeo. But Geppetto shows up, opens the box, the nameless puppet comes out, and you don't see it, but you know that it killed Romeo and Leia. And then he takes Romeo's like ergo and puts it in a puppet, and that's the puppet you fight in the
That's the
main
Puppet
game.
Master. Yeah.
What a fucking asshole Geppetto is.
Yeah, he's a dickhead.
But also, what a great storytelling.
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. Like, that's
The,
such
the
a
twist
great
on the Pinocchio story.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
And like reading the book, kind of like Geppetto's not an asshole in the book, but like Geppetto's like, he's like really disappointed in Pinocchio. He calls him like a mischievous, like rotten puppet all the time.
Yep.
Pinocchio deserves it. He's a dick, but
Yeah.
like Geppetto's not like the kindly, caring old man father that he is in the Disney movie and in the Del Toro movie. Like he's a loving father, but he's also like, he calls Pinocchio a dick basically throughout.
Yeah.
And so they're like, here's an idea for our game story. Here's
Let's
our twist. Our
Use
twist
that
is
and
that,
spin that. Yeah.
yeah. In the book and in the, I don't remember in the Disney movie. I don't think Geppetto had a son that died in the Disney movie.
I don't think they would have. I feel like they would have not put that in.
You'd
Maybe
be
in a Disney
surprised.
movie from that long ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Disney movies got dark. Just saying. Like, back in the day, they were kind of dark.
I think in the newer Pinocchio movie, I think
In the Del Toro one,
I think so. Yeah.
Geppetto's son died, and that's why he wanted the puppet to become a real boy.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in the Lies of P story. And that's like you play the event leading up to Carlo dying. I was never clear on like Carlo died of the petrification disease. That's right. He couldn't save him. And so he like dedicated himself to making a new son. And at the end of the game, you think that it's like he's going to take you in as his new son and realize like you're the son I always wanted and stuff like that. But he's like, give me your heart at the end. And he opens the box and like the nameless puppet looks all fucked up. And he's like, give me your heart. I'll put it in here and you'll have served your purpose. Because if your heart has enough humanity, we'll talk about that. But it's super cool the way they did that.
Yeah, it's very again, I love the spin that they've kind of put into the story. And they take little bits and pieces of like, all right, like we said, we see Geppetto just kind of like lashing out at Pinocchio. Let's use that to our advantage and kind of spin that into our twisted fantasy of the story, right? Like that's really cool. Again, attention to detail of those little things, those like little moments in the show or like in the book. And it's really nice that they kind of like took that and like made it their own thing. So cool stuff.
Yeah, I had a feeling there was something off with him because he was like too nice in the beginning. He's just there's always something you're saving them, trying to find them. She's like, yeah, I'll upgrade you. Here's the upgrades. And it's like, you're also very absent for a lot of the game too, and that's weird that you're so absent and you're such a big crucial part to this game.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was odd. So I had a feeling there was something up with Geppetto. But yeah, I do love the twist that like at the end it's just like, hey buddy, I'm gonna need that back now.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, you've attained enough humanity that your heart can then bring this puppet to life and be a human, and we can bring my son back. And the way that the game handles humanity, I think, is cool. So
yeah.
One of the things that like I didn't know, because my only exposure was the Disney movie and the Del Toro movie, is that in the original book, Pinocchio's nose doesn't grow when he lies. The first time it grows in the book, I think I wrote it down. The first time is just when he builds the nose, it starts growing, and for no reason. And then he like cuts it down to like a normal size. There's one time in the book when his nose grows from being disappointed rather than lying. There's one time when it lies. And then like as the book goes, it starts to become more of a morality story about like being a good kid. And like the moral of the book, Pinocchio, is actually like, it's not to not lie. It's that you need to go to school and like go to school so you're not just like some person just hanging around contributing nothing.
Yeah.
There's like historical context to it. It's a very old book. Schools were new for like mandatory schooling was new at the time that the book was written in Italy. So anyway, the source material does not take lying as the thing that like makes Pinocchio, quote, like more human. And neither does Lies of P. So the game's keeping track of a humanity score as you play. And there's a lot of things that go into it. One of them is lying. But the records that you listen to at the hotel, if you listen to the songs, that contributes to your humanity. Answering the riddles correctly, that contributes to your humanity. And then one of the big decisions, you can't get the human ending if you don't do this. But if you let Sophia die, that's the human choice when you come up to her. Letting her live is the wrong choice.
Yeah.
You got to let her rest. You got to put her to peace.
Put her to rest.
What'd you pick,
Yeah.
Kelv? Did you kill her?
I killed her.
Okay, good. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
Like,
felt bad.
so Sophia's nice, but like she's in a really bad spot.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
asks you to do it, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Generally, my position in video games is like, if someone's in a terrible position and they ask me to pull the plug, I'll do it.
Yep.
I'll
So-
pull the plug.
Yep. For sure.
I do want to touch a little bit, if you don't mind, kind of like jumping back and forth here, but
Sure.
the aspect of understanding what being human means in
Yeah.
this game, right? I think
Mhm.
that's a key element to this game, and it's kind of something that I don't know if he's like really trying to navigate throughout the game of like what's his role in this? Like, does he feel like he is a human? Is he, what makes you human, right? Because obviously he's a puppet, right? And so for him to lie, and again, going back to like just like the brief history of how this whole like ergo situation happened and with the puppets, but like if the puppets that you see in the game, like the enemies, they can't lie, right? Like
Right.
the enemies,
Yeah.
or like just the
Because
regular
there's a
puppets,
law. There's like a law
that's
that-
just the law. They
Yeah.
cannot lie, right? Whereas P can, obviously. And so I love that they kind of bring you back and forth and kind of like bring this big question of like, what makes you human? And that's kind of like the major focal point, I think, at least throughout the story. Is like, you're able to lie, you're able to, tell the truth, but like at the end of the day, what makes P or you as P a human? And I think that's kind of like a cool message that they try to throw out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's two things I want to point out. Is the one song I was talking about earlier was called Feel.
Yeah.
And the fact that like in the game, after you listen to that, not saying that particular song, but any song, but when you hit to Feel, you feel something. Literally in the game's like, you feel something. I'm like, that's crazy.
You feel warmth. Yeah.
Yeah, you feel warmth.
I think that's the signifier that the game gives you that you've increased your humanity, is you get that pop-up that says you feel warmth.
Yeah. Which if you're a puppet, you wouldn't feel that, right?
Right.
You wouldn't feel that warmth in your heart because it's a very human feeling. And another thing I want to point out is about back to lying thing, right? And when we look at in one of the rooms where Geppetto used to be, there's a picture of you with the nose.
Yeah, the picture
And-
of Carlo. Yeah.
Picture Carlo. And you're like, okay, this thing's getting longer and longer and longer. Like, do I have to keep lying to
Mhm.
get this thing longer? And it's not true. It's how much your humanity grows and you will get the reward, which the nose ends up turning into the freaking weapon, the staff.
Yeah, I didn't do enough of that. So I got like the middle ending. So like there's an ending, you have to reach a certain threshold where Geppetto will ask for your heart, I think. And then there's another threshold where you'll get like that, like the best version of the ending. And I didn't get that far. And I think that's probably when you can use the nose as a weapon, because whenever I went back, it just always said you can't do anything with this.
Okay.
So, but anyway, back to the subject of being human. They have the thing where they have all of these things that contribute to being human. It's not just lying, and it's not just like making choices. It's also like some things that you do contribute to being human, like listening to music, for example. Then we have like puppets are kind of breaking out of the Grand Covenant from time to time, like attaining humanity. The one that's in the hotel, if you talk to him enough and if you do enough stuff, it will like become conscious. It will like the merchant guy at the front desk.
Right.
He'll become conscious. And he eventually, if you go through all this stuff, if Antonia dies, the old woman in the wheelchair, the puppet will decide it doesn't want to be human anymore, and it will like wipe itself back to being a regular puppet, which is interesting. Like if you think about suddenly attaining humanity and like consciousness, and then all of these things that like flood in, and suddenly something like heartbreak, which was never a concern before, is suddenly like, oh my God, the worst thing that could possibly happen just happened, and I feel so bad. And this was not a part of my life before, and I can make it all go away by just going back to being a puppet. And this puppet decides that's the thing that he wants to do. I thought like it's a pretty short story within the story of Lies of P, but one angle of puppets attaining humanity and then like not liking it. Like we always assume, Pinocchio wants to be a real boy, and therefore when he becomes a real boy, life will be better. But for this puppet, it didn't turn out that way.
Right.
No, I think it's, and this is the part of the story where it's a story that continues, right? It is a story that's almost like everything is kind of like, in a way, you can make anything into a Pinocchio story, because it's, at the end of the day, it's like about humanity, right? So I really found a lot of value from the story, because it made me think way more than any other like Souls-like story in the game. This is story-wise, this is actually, I would say, one of the best, some of the best storytelling in gaming. Do you agree?
I don't think I'd go that far, but
Yeah.
for the genre, and
Would you say
certain-
it's best in genre for storytelling?
I don't know, like I think that once for like the method of storytelling, I think that it works in a way that allows you to more easily get it. And I think that in that way, it is some of the best. I think that I like the story of Bloodborne a little bit more.
Okay.
The story in Elden Ring is like so complicated, but there's a lot of cool stuff in that game too.
Yeah.
I kind of like the themes and like the bleakness of the Dark Souls stories, but they don't have like active players in the story the way that Lies of P
Right.
does.
Yeah.
And you're like, so you're uncovering like the story of the past and like why did the puppet frenzy happen, and the petrification disease and the alchemist story and stuff. Like some of that's present day in Lies of P, and like what's Geppetto up to? Like all of that's present day story. And the Dark Souls games don't do present day story other than what your character is specifically doing, linking the fire or letting it die. That's it. Everything else is archaeology. And so Lies of P having like that current day story to go along with the archaeology. In that way, I like the storytelling here. And then like the source material of Pinocchio, I think they did a really creative adaptation of the source material.
If I would shed my tears in this downtown fantasy, many of them call reality.
I also find fascinating just the beginning of this kind of story, right? Of like the puppets kind of going into like this puppet frenzy, and then just how this all began. Because from my understanding, it seems like everything was, you know, in the town of Krat, this, you know, world was built to create puppets, and this is like manufacturing puppets in this town. And you know, puppets initially, before this, you know, the whole frenzy happened, were, you know, working alongside humans, right?
They were
And
instrumental in
they were
like making
instrumental.
Krat like the city that it was.
Prosperous,
Like
yeah.
this.
Exactly. And then because of this puppet frenzy that occurred, that's when things went to shit. And that's when, you know, basically the puppets kind of turned against the humans. And that's, to me, a fascinating, again, we talk about, I think, Rob, you mentioned iRobot, right? Like that's literally the kind of like the story behind iRobot and how that kind of like happened, right? And so like to me, that's such a fascinating story when like, you know, things that originally were kind of made by humans and work alongside humans turn against humans. And it's just kind of like a cool story behind it.
It's super interesting too, because we're seeing kind of like an AI revolution right now in our current lives, and obviously it's hard to escape because it's just happening everywhere. And you think you're like, huh, the machines can turn on us, and it like happens in Lies of P. So it's like,
right,
you know, it's very real.
Yeah. The iRobot, like the Isaac Asimov comparison is good, because that's basically how the puppets are governed, is by like it's called the Grand Covenant, and it's basically the 3 laws of robotics from iRobot. So like the thing with the puppet frenzy, as I understand it, is Geppetto's wife, and you learn this in the DLC. Geppetto's wife died in they called it an accident, but it was the alchemist's fault that she died. And then they covered it up as an accident. So Geppetto's had this vendetta against the alchemists the whole time. The alchemists are studying the people who have the petrification disease, and that's where ergo comes from. It comes from people, and that's part of the reason why some robots are able to attain humanity, is because of the amount of ergo they get. It's like human souls, basically. So that's as far as I understand that. So Geppetto wants to put an end to the alchemist's plan and basically kill everyone that has the petrification disease, so they can't do their research anymore, their fucked up research. He just wants to ruin their plans. And so he and Vanini built the puppets with the Grand Covenant that says, you know, they can't lie, they can't harm humans, on and on. But he built a secret like override that basically said, I think they called it the Zero Protocol or something like that.
Law Zero, I think it was
Law
called.
Zero, yeah, something like that. That basically says, above all else, the puppets must obey Geppetto. And so he basically activated that to kill all the all the petrification disease sufferers, to ruin the alchemist's plans. So he started the puppet frenzy, and you just think for so long that it's like iRobot. Like suddenly the Covenant stopped working for some reason, and now all the puppets are going insane. Maybe they're getting revenge for the way that the humans treated them. Who knows? But it turns out it's not like that. It's just Geppetto being a villain.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, I think it's cool the way that like they give you these 3 storylines, right? The storyline with the puppets, the storyline with the alchemists, the storyline with P and humanity.
Yep.
And at the center of all of those is Geppetto. And the way that it all ties in is super satisfying.
And the way they kind of uncover that in the game, I thought was really cool. Like you could miss it, obviously, like if you're watching the cutscene and not really put two and two together. But like when you do put two and two together, you're like, oh shit, like he's behind this.
Yeah,
like what the.
He's
Like when I think it was like one of the trailers or one of the cutscenes where it was like, you know, they talk about the law 0 and they were kind of like breaking down what each law does, right? First law is like, you know, a puppet can never lie or something like that. Second law is something else. And then the third law or whatever is law 0, and law 0 says, you know, the puppets have to obey one master, and the master is Geppetto. And you're like, what? Like, wait, what's going on here? So it was like really cool how they incorporated that
for sure
into the game.
Yeah, the way it all played out was just very satisfying. It took a little bit of extra digging. Like I don't claim to have done all of it myself, but that's how it always works with these. Like I need the Vadi videos of the world to teach me the Souls stories too. So that's kind of how it worked. Although this one was more straightforward. Like that moment at the end of the DLC when Geppetto shows up and opens the nameless puppet box, you're like, oh, fuck you, motherfucker.
Yep.
Because to that point, you had still been like, I remember fighting Romeo. Romeo was a puppet. Romeo's not a puppet in the DLC. What happened? And then you're like, oh, Geppetto happened. That's what happened. You know what I think is cool about this game is there is not an ounce of irony in the Pinocchio theming. Like when you tell someone like, this is a Souls game based on the story of Pinocchio, I laughed the first time I heard that. You're like, what the fuck do you mean it's based on Pinocchio? Are you kidding me? And they play it so straight and so serious. They're like, we're actually going to try and tell a compelling story with compelling villains. Like Geppetto's reasoning for doing that is, I mean, it's not like super unique, but it's an interesting reasoning for why he did that. And it's never played for a joke. Like none of this is.
Yeah.
They named something the P organ. Like this is a Korean studio. Someone on the staff knows that you shouldn't call it the P organ. You
Right.
shouldn't call it that.
Don't do that.
You
But
know-
then everyone's like, you know what? We're doing.
We're
that.
calling it the P organ.
We're calling it.
I
the
never
P-organ.
questioned it until today. The P until you guys were like P organ. I'm like, what are you gonna talk about?
Congratulations.
Yep.
Look
So-
at Rob taking the high road on us.
you
Oh
go,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Seriously.
Now every time I boot up that game, or if I ever play that game
P-organ.
again, P organ. Yep. So,
Love it.
yep.
I mean, I laughed at the title Lies of P. Also, I speak Korean. The word P in Korean means blood. So
Oh.
it actually like didn't have anything to do with the story really, unless you like tie it to a humanity thing. I think it's probably just the first letter of Pinocchio. But I was playing it for a while being like, is this like a Korean wordplay thing? Because like they're inspired by Bloodborne. Blood's the most important thing in Bloodborne, but it didn't turn out that way.
That if you would have told me that before the game came out, I would have been like,
Yeah, that makes sense.
sounds
Yeah, it makes
right.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
look out
I
for
believe
it.
you, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe you. That sounds accurate.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to talk about with like the going back to kind of gameplay sort of, but there was I forget that there was another layer to the game where you know how you level up like your health bar.
The P organ.
There was like
no,
was
no, it's not your P organ. Sorry, it's just the
There was-
Sophia.
you just
It's
you
just
just
too
wanted
fun to
you
talk
just,
about
you just
the P
wanted
organ,
to say
Rob.
the P organ. Rob.
Yeah.
You just wanted to say the P organ. It's fine. It's fine. You can say it. No, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Like I forget
Yeah,
the
you go
name.
you go to Sophia and she upgrades you.
Yeah, but there was like a I don't remember. Again, it's been a few years. It was like a I don't know. Help me out here, Dave. There was something that you like improve.
Your stats.
Was it-
It's your stats.
It's your stats, but there was something that you did. You had to collect. I forget what it was.
You had
the
to collect.
stones.
You had to collect ergo to level up your stats, and then you had to collect quartz to level up to upgrade your P organ.
Quartz. That's what
Yeah.
it was. Yeah. That was just another layer that I was like, oh man, I forgot. I completely forgot about it. And
Yeah, we
I
didn't talk about it in the
I didn't level
non-spoiler.
it up at all. Like I didn't
Oh,
really.
dude, what?
Well, I know I did, but I didn't like fully level it up. I didn't go like all the way.
I think you have to
So-
do New Game Plus to level it up
Oh,
all the
okay,
way.
okay.
Even in the DLC does a cool thing where you can use the quartz to go further on the track and like upgrade new nodes, or you can just reinforce and upgrade nodes that you already have.
Oh, that's cool. I
So-
like that.
That's cool.
I like it a lot because it was like, one of the things about the P organ things is like you open up a new node, I know, and you might look at like the 4 options and you're like, I don't know, like those don't all sound great. They all sound kind of mid to me. In the DLC, you can use the quartz. If you're like, that thing 2 nodes ago was actually super clutch, you can just go upgrade that even further. And so I upgraded like posture damage on perfect parries, and I think I upgraded fable art damage and stuff like that. Just like really doubling down on my play style, which was very cool.
Yeah, I wish I went, like, I really dived into that stuff. I did, but I just, it was like another thing that you had to do to like really, improve your stats. So it was just.
They really could have just named it the organ. Now that I'm thinking about it, it could have just been named organ.
No, it's got to be the P organ.
It has to be the P organ. You know what I mean? Like you have to kind of go with like the title as a P organ. It had everything. Honestly, they should have named more things with the letter P, to be honest.
All right.
If the P organ is analogous to your heart, then P meaning blood in Korean makes sense.
Makes sense.
Okay,
Your heart
have
is the P
P
organ.
Yeah, okay.
You have something there, man. When you said that, I was like, holy shit, like that makes sense.
A P organ. Okay.
Yeah. Just real quick, I wanted to run down some fun comparisons between characters in here and characters in the book, The Adventures of Pinocchio. We don't have to actually like talk too much about them, but just as a curiosity for anyone who didn't read the book, or maybe if you haven't seen the movie in 25 years or whatever, Sophia, who's the blue-haired character, she levels you up. She's analogous to the blue-haired fairy from the book, who is Pinocchio's mother figure and saves him several times. Carlo, who is the son of Geppetto who died, is the author's first name, Carlo Collodi.
Oh.
Polendina, who is, I think that's the puppet working the front desk at the hotel.
Yes.
That is the word that is used to insult Geppetto's wig in the book. Polendina is a low-grade polenta. And someone said, like, your wig looks like this color. It looks like shit, basically. Because Geppetto's super poor and people are, like, not nice to him about how poor he is sometimes. So, yeah. Antonia is the woman in the wheelchair. In the book, there's a character named Antonio, who is the character who gives Geppetto the piece of wood that eventually becomes Pinocchio.
Ah.
In the book, that piece of wood is alive before it becomes a puppet. It is a talking piece of wood. Pulcinella, I think that's Vanini's puppet, the one that sells you stuff.
Okay.
That is a puppet in the book. In Lies of P, there are the fox and the cat characters that trick you and get you into ambushes and eventually attack you. Those in the book, they trick Pinocchio. They try to kill him. They try to steal his money. In the game, they want the gold coin fruit, which is we didn't talk about that, but it's a cure for the petrification disease. And in the DLC, Leia, the character you're playing alongside, she has the petrification disease. She's having a real bad time. I had like 70 fucking gold coin fruits in my pocket. And I'm like, I can't give it you. They never gave you the option. They say that it's uncurable if the disease reaches your lungs, and I guess that's why. But
okay.
They could have just been like, have a fruit. I have so many of them. I'm never going to use them all. Alidoro in the game, I think this is the character that you sell your boss souls to get weapons. He's the guy with the dog head.
Yes.
He's a treasure hunter
The
guy,
traveler.
right?
Yeah, the treasure hunter. Yeah. In the book, he's a dog. He's a police dog that chases Pinocchio. So they're taking all the names from characters, and a lot of times they are analogous to what they are in the book. And then one last time, in case you forgot, Jiminy Cricket shows up in the book, and Pinocchio kills him with a hammer.
That's so dark.
Gemini shows up. He tells Pinocchio he needs to be a good boy and go to school, and Pinocchio gets mad at that and throws a hammer at him and kills him. He never comes back either. Never comes back to life. He's just dead.
We could thank the Disney movie to make him such a prominent character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then to be like your guide in Lies of P, similar to the Disney movie, because they probably read the book and was like, we could make the cricket a boss fight, but
That would be cool, actually. But I did like this kind of.
I like that he was your homie. Like,
He
just
was
kind of
your homie.
chilled. Yeah.
yeah, he's solid. Yeah. So that has been fun going through the book characters with Dave. So thanks everyone for going on that ride. So to take us into like the end of the episode, just real quick, what ending did you guys get? We know Rob is refusing to give in his heart, but didn't get the ending yet. Say yet. Kelvin,
Yes.
what ending did you get?
So I beat the what is it called?
Nameless puppet.
The nameless puppet?
Nameless puppet. Yes. I don't think. Trying to remember honestly. I don't think P cried at the end, so
Okay.
I just got like the regular ending, I guess, which is, you kill Geppetto, or Geppetto steps in to like he like
It's
takes the bullet for you, I guess.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He dies, and you kill Nameless Puppet, and I don't remember exactly what happens towards the end, to be quite honest, but that's the gist of it. I remember like losing my shit when I beat Nameless Puppet, so that's what I remember from it. Does that
Mhm.
ring a bell? Does that make sense?
That's the ending I got. So the end
Okay.
is Geppetto. I think the ending is just changes what Geppetto says at the end. So
Yeah.
if you're in like that
He
mid-tier,
calls you like a
humanity-
piece of shit or something, right?
Yeah, he says as he dies, his final words were, "You were always just a stupid puppet,"
Yeah.
which is straight out of the book.
Mhm.
Geppetto calling Pinocchio a stupid puppet, but kind of like came out of left field because I wasn't sure that Geppetto was like the villain of the story yet. All of those realizations for me came in the DLC.
Ah.
I don't remember learning about the Zero Law and all that stuff. So that's the ending I got. There's the other ending where if your humanity is super high, as Geppetto's dying, P will cry. And that's a very human thing. And Geppetto finally is like, oh shit, you're already human. And I think he apologizes or something like that.
Yeah,
and then
that's
he dies.
that's the good ending, right?
That's the good ending.
Yeah.
Okay. So I got the bad ending.
Do you guys want to talk about the post-credit scene?
Oh yeah, that's the last thing. Yeah. I'm trying to picture it in my head. I didn't take notes as I was watching it, but as I remember it, you're kind of like watching the city of Krat from the distance,
Yep.
and you see a character with two ruby red slippers walking along. And does she say we're far from home?
I don't think so.
I don't think
The key thing is that she just kind of like
She clicks her heels
She clicks her
together.
heels
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. So I said The Wizard of Oz earlier because someone who didn't play the game would be like, all right, The Wizard of Oz, that's a fun what if. But
Yeah.
actually, the ending of Lies of P shows you they might do it.
Which is crazy.
It's just
Yeah.
wild. Now,
And Rob talking about, Liza P2, I don't know if they'll even go that route.
do you
Like,
do you
obvious-
want it to go that route though? Do you want it to go? I feel like that's pretty cool.
as far as going like to a different IP, like Wizard of Oz?
I don't know if it'd be a different,
It's essentially a different IP.
Yeah,
Like, they're
yeah,
focusing
it-
on
it-
something entirely different, right? So,
but like, would you still be Pinocchio or would you be Dorothy?
No, I don't know. I think this is, and like I took this as this is a completely different game. It's think of Final Fantasy. Like it's a different
But
game.
it's still connected to this game because she sees Krat. So like, it's
Sure.
still in the same universe. So
right. It's still in the same universe, but you're still.
we could have a
This is
whole nother
this is-
like hour.
This is
of
this
just
is the
talking
gaming
about-
duel at
Yeah,
its
yeah,
peak
yeah.
right here. This is like the speculation stuff that we love. But
Yeah.
I honestly think that yes, it is kind of in the same universe, but you're gonna be playing as Dorothy. You're gonna be playing you're gonna see different characters. You're gonna be separate from what you've played as with P. What do you think? I don't know.
I want to see Dorothy have the Wolverine claws and fight through the
Let's
different
fucking go.
realms of the Wizard of Oz. Let's do it.
I think that's
I'm down for
I think it's a really cool. They could really expand on the different. They remember I talked about the world and people were complaining about the level design and how it was like this is them expanding and being like we can really show our stuff. So I'm excited either way. If they go that route, I'm excited. If they just stick to the Pinocchio, but I feel like the story's done.
I think the story is done. Yeah.
yeah. So
The
they have
story's
to
done.
kind of go that route.
Unless you play as like one of the other stalker characters in like some other part of the story. Because there are other characters in history of like the different factions
Sure.
that you read about. I just don't think that would be as interesting as like, okay, so we're in the same world, but we're not doing the Pinocchio thing anymore. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but I don't think it would be as interesting without the Pinocchio thing. When
I
like
agree.
when they announced the game is Pinocchio Souls, everyone was like, "What the fuck ever? Pinocchio? All right." And now we're here almost 3 hours into the podcast being like, they got to stay with Pinocchio or go to the Wizard of Oz or something like that.
But I think that's the purpose of the DLC, right? I think also going back a little bit, I did remember seeing concept art and I remember seeing a whale. Where's the whale? You know what I mean? Like,
I think
I just didn't make it into the game. Wasn't the
It's-
submarine?
yeah,
there
it's
was,
not-
there was a
I thought that was-
submarine. There was a submarine in the game.
there was a submarine, but you don't
that-
go in it.
right, but that's part of the DLC.
The submarine isn't.
But you don't go in the submarine. You see one, but you don't go in it.
That's what I mean. Like it's there in the
It's
in the
there.
DLC.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything about like a giant sea monster. There are like these shark type enemies. I think it's a shark in the book that eats him actually, not a whale, if I remember right. There are these shark enemies in the DLC, but they're not big. They're just sharks.
baby
They
ones?
pop out of the water and bite you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the purpose of the DLC was to give you that extra, like, here's this, you're still getting more content for Liza P. It's transitioning you from like, playing more content for P, right?
Yeah.
And I truly think that this next game is going to be completely different. It's going to still be kind of like in the world of Krot, sort of in some aspects. So you'll still hear, names that you are familiar with from Liza P, but you're not going to be playing as P. It'll be a completely different story. And it'll just be a new, fresh game. And I'm totally, the more I talk about it and the more
I'm
we
down
kind
with
of
it.
speculate, I'm like, let's fucking
Give
go.
me a good
like,
Wizard of Oz, because there's so much in that IP too
Yeah.
they could go with, right? Like the Tin Man.
and then after that, give me Liza Winnie the Pooh. Like,
Yeah.
that's going to be freaking nuts. I'm down for that too.
They're basically
Yeah, like-
pulling like a God of War with like
The different pantheons.
which is
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah, I like it.
Can you imagine like Souls style levels? So it's like the fucked up, corrupted version of the world of the Wizard of Oz with all of its like bright colors and the yellow brick road and all that stuff. Like that would be insane. It'd be
Yeah.
very cool. I don't know how you could turn, I guess, I don't know. Like I would have probably said the same thing about Pinocchio, but I don't know how you could turn Dorothy into like a combat master. Maybe it's not going to be a Souls-like game. Who knows?
The team there is really talented, so I think you can pull it off. I think Neowiz can do it. So
I think that I don't think they would have put this thing at the end of the credits if they didn't plan on following through. Like, do you think they would have
Exactly.
just done this as like just a joke? Which is, I mean,
No.
if it's just a joke, it's a funny joke. It's getting us to speculate on the Wizard of Oz souls, which is fun. But yeah, I feel
No.
like they at least have like an idea.
Oh yeah, this was intentional. This is definitely their next iteration. Like,
Listen.
there's no question about that. There was a few years back a game called Alice in Wonderland.
Right. Alice,
and
yeah.
Madness,
Alice.
something like that. So Alice
Madness Returns.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I think that was the
yeah.
second one.
So-
But it's been done before. There has been different iterations of like this, IP that we take and we kind of twist it and turn it into like this dark kind of like creepy stuff. So I can see this turning out to be like kind of like this is like their bread and butter of like picking like these old dormant ID like IPs and kind of like creating this like Souls like kind of like iteration towards it. So I'm down for it, man.
I think they do it. I think they 100% are going to put this out because the game sold well.
Yeah.
Enough.
They probably have the money and the goodwill, especially from Neowiz to explore
green
other
light.
ideas. Just real quick, here is a list of some notable public domain properties: Aladdin, Alice in Wonderland, Dracula, James Bond, Sherlock Holmes, Frankenstein, King Kong, Mickey Mouse, Gulliver, as in Gulliver's Travels, Hercules, King Arthur. King Arthur Souls would be badass. Krampus, which would be a crazy game, and Merlin, and just to name a few. So, what if Round8 just turns into like we make Souls games out of public domain?
That's what I
things
mean,
from your
man.
childhood.
I love it. I'm here
I
for
think
it.
that's
I'm
a
here
niche
for it.
that they can kind of like gravitate towards. I'm
Yeah.
totally down for
Give
that.
me
a-
Mickey Mouse Souls.
give me Mickey
Disney's
Mouse
gonna fucking
Souls.
freak out.
They're gonna be like, damn it!
Yeah.
But that would be so cool.
I love it.
I'm down for it.
Yeah, let's do that. I want this game now. I want this game now. I want it to come out, and I'm gonna.
Yep.
I think it's gonna come out.
All right. Well, guys, it has been quite a long episode, but I've had a great time talking about Lies of P with the both of you. Thank you for giving me so much of your time coming on the show, and thanks for the conversation.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for having us, man. This was great. I had a great time, and I can't wait to listen to this again.
Hell yeah.
Thank you again for having on, and keep doing what you're doing. Seriously, Dave, you
Appreciate
are
it.
the best in the biz when it comes to talk about anything when it comes to backlogs, and I think of you every time I think of my backlog. So
Thanks. Kind words will get you everywhere. So thank you. And I'll give a shout out again at the end for everyone who's still with us to check out the gaming duo. And there's a link down in the show notes. You can check out the show. Maybe a topic about what games do you want from public domain characters in the future. That'd be fun.
that.
And what kind of games. So yeah, that'd be fun. If you guys want to talk about that, bring me back on. We'll create some games. We'll have a good time. But everyone who's still here with us, thank you for being here. You are my heroes. And tune in next week for the next game to come out of the backlog.
Do you have a gaming subscription service like Xbox Game Pass or a crazy backlog and don't know what to play next? Well, 1H1D might be for you. Join me, Chris, and my college buddy Tom as we play a random game or a requested game for an hour and decide if it's worth playing past that hour. We go over the good, the bad, and maybe some little tidbits about the development you might not have known. Got 30 minutes? Give us a try, and if you like it, throw us a 5-star review. Try something new. You never know what might be your next favorite game.
Hey, Nerf herders.
You sure you want to go with that?
Hey, everyone.
There we go. More inviting.
Have you ever had a movie that you really wanted to love, but something holds you back?
Or one that you did love in spite of a flaw?
Well, I'm Case Aiken.
And I'm Sam Alisea.
And on Another Pass, we sit down with cool guests to look at movies that we find fascinating.
But flawed.
And we try to imagine what could have been done when they were made to give them that little push.
We're not experts. We just believe in criticism.
Constructive criticism.
Sure.
So come take another pass at some movies with us.
And every now and then, we can celebrate movies that did it on their own, too.
You can find us at certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Pass it on.